This work session, regular meeting of the Township Council is called to order. In accordance with Section 5 of the Open Public Meeting Act, Chapter 231, Public Law 1975, be advised that adequate notice of this work session, regular meeting of the Township Council of the Township of Franklin, County of Somerset, was made by the posting on the bulletin board at the municipal complex and transmitted to the officially designated newspapers, a list of dates annually indicating that this work session regular meeting would take place at the Franklin Township Municipal Complex at 7:00 p.m. on Tuesday, May 27th, 2014. In addition, a copy of this notice is and has been available to the public and is on file in the office of the municipal clerk. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Remain standing for the invocation, which will be given by Councilman James Vassanella.
Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
As we gather here today as members of the Township Council, we pray that we are ever mindful of the opportunities to render our service to fellow citizens and to our community of Franklin. Keeping in mind always the enduring values of life, exerting our efforts in those areas and on those things upon which future generations can build with confidence. Let us continue to strive to make a better world and a better town. Amen.
Amen. Madam Clerk, please call the roll of the council.
Councilman Chase.
Here.
Councilwoman Francois. Councilman Kramer.
Here.
Mayor Levine.
Here.
Councilman Prasad.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Regan.
Here.
Councilwoman Sherman.
Here.
Councilman Vassanella.
Here.
Councilman Wright.
Okay, thank you very much. We are following along on our agenda. Our agenda is over here by our clerk, Ms. McCarthy. Please feel free to get up at any time and follow the agenda. And along with it are associated ordinances and resolutions. Again, feel free to get up. See that. You can always know what's happening at our meeting on our website. Usually the weekend before, we've got our agenda. And if you click on any of the ordinances or resolutions, you can see the entire item which is coming up. So we're now at item number 5 on the agenda, in our commendation proclamation area. And it's one of those of which we have one of the greatest pleasures to do, swearing in of our new police officers. So I'll be by the podium with our clerk, Ms. McCarthy, and our deputy mayor, Brian Regan.
Kevin.
How wonderful. Thank you very much.
I, Kevin Friziola,
I, Kevin Friziola,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution
that I will support the Constitution
of the United States
of the United States
and the Constitution
the Constitution
of the State of New Jersey,
of the State of New Jersey,
that I will bear true faith
that I will bear true faith
and allegiance
and allegiance
to the same
No, thank you.
and to the governments established
to the governments established
in the United States
in the United States
and in this state
and in this state
under the authority of the people,
under the authority of the people,
and that I will faithfully,
and that I will faithfully,
impartially,
impartially,
and justly perform
and justly perform
all the duties of
all the duties of
police officer
police officer
of the Township of Franklin
of the Township of Franklin
according to the best of my ability,
according to the best of my ability,
so help me God.
so help me God. Thank you.
I got doing all the swearing-ins. I just want to give a little background. Kevin is actually has 7 years' experience as a police officer. He's coming to us from the Ocean Gate Police Department. He's also currently studying at Fairleigh Dickinson University, trying to keep up with the tradition. We try to hire everybody that has college or is currently in college, and we try to get all trained officers. Kevin's very diverse, coming from a small police department. This way it saves money to taxpayers and all with training, and we don't have to pay. So I wish Kevin luck, and he will be assigned to road patrol. David.
Oh, excuse me. Y'all not going up?
Oh, God almighty.
Go ahead and go up. Go ahead. Go get the picture.
I, David Cruz. Solemnly swear. That I will support the Constitution of the United States. And the Constitution of the State of New Jersey. That I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same and to the governments established in the United States and in this state under the authority of the people. And I will faithfully, impartially, and justly perform all the duties of police officer in the Township of Franklin, according to the best of my ability, so help me God.
Congratulations.
David comes to us from Seaside Heights Police Department, where he worked there for 2 years, and he's also a 5-year member of the New Jersey Army National Guard, and he has a bachelor's degree in criminal justice from Stockton State College. And David, again, like the others, will be assigned to patrol and going through the field training program.
Probably all the way at the top there.
I, Luke Lana,
I, Luke Lana,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution
I will support the Constitution
of the United States
of the United States
and the Constitution
and the Constitution
of the State of New Jersey.
of the State of New Jersey.
That I will bear true faith and allegiance. That I will bear true faith
That I will bear true faith
and allegiance
and allegiance
to the same
to the same
and to the governments established
to the government established
in the United States
in the United States
and in this state
and in this state
under the authority of the people.
under the authority of the people.
And that I will faithfully,
And I will faithfully,
impartially, and justly perform all the duties of police officer of the Franklin Township Police Department
Franklin Township Police Department,
according to the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability.
so help me God.
You're welcome.
Congratulations.
Luke comes to us from a Lakehurst Police Department, where he worked there for a year prior to joining Franklin Township, and he's studying criminal justice at Ocean County College. And I like to acknowledge whether here he comes from a family of law enforcement. His dad put in 28 years with the New Jersey State Police. Ronald.
I, Ronald Riston, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey, that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same and to the governments established in the United States and in this state under the authority of the people. And that I will faithfully, impartially, and justly perform all the duties of police officer of the Franklin Township Police Department according to the best of my ability. So help me God.
Ronald comes to us with 6 years' experience from the Pine Beach Borough Police Department. He is married and the father of 2, and I just want to thank the governing body and the manager for allowing me to replace all the bodies as people retire. We're trying to keep the staffing at a current level in the police department, and I just want to thank the men and women of the police department. It's been busy lately, and everybody's been doing a good job We don't like to see major crimes happen, but when they do, it's good to know that we get them solved in a short amount of time. And as you can see, we're hiring all trained officers, so it allows us to save the taxpayers here in town money, where we don't have to send them through the academy and pay for their training. And along with that comes a vast variety of experience. So I think it's just good for the township. So I just want to thank everybody.
Yeah, congratulations to the officers and to their family. It's truly a wonderful day for you all, and welcome to Franklin. As the chief indicated, we're very happy to have our staff continually to replace the retirements. And the policy of hiring someone that has been an officer someplace before and with the education background that you have is part of what leads our police staff under our police department under the chief to get the highest rating from the New Jersey Chiefs Association for our police department. So welcome again, because you've come to the finest police department in the state of New Jersey.
As the Deputy Mayor said, congratulations to the officers, to the families. Thank you for lending them to us for the next couple decades. We appreciate that. And certainly also to the officers who've always part of our Franklin family. And as the Deputy Mayor also said about the best police department, when I go around the state, I always say that. I do get pushback from some other mayors sometimes, I have to admit. But yeah, especially in South Brunswick. But I do hold my ground. And the chief in South Brunswick's a great guy, was president of the Chiefs Association. So on behalf of all of our 64,000 residents and our council, I do welcome you and all the tens of thousands of people who may never know your name, but you will be protecting those also who come here during the day to work, for recreation, or sometimes just passing through. So again, we appreciate that, and we always hold you in the highest esteem. If my phone rings while I'm away, just pick up, tell me I'm in the shower.
No question about it.
Okay. We are continuing on our agenda. And we're now at item number 6, Mayor's Report. So I welcome everyone who's attending here and watching on our cable TV access channel. There'll be a time in a little while when the meeting says public discussion that people can speak of anything they would like, of anything that is on his or her mind. I think that's the only time we have public speaking during this meeting, so we're glad to hear anything on your mind. I'll give you our parameters at that point. Most of our meetings, just so you know, if you'd like to attend, you can always tune in, are the second and fourth Tuesdays of the month. Exceptions are July, August, and December, where it's only the second Tuesday. And there will be an exception coming up. Our June meeting, which would have been June 10th, is going to be June 5th.
Except there's a discussion item
To move it to June 12th.
Okay, stay tuned. Okay, pardon me. All right. We encourage you to attend. You can, again, watch it on our cable access channel. On our website, you can sign up for updates. And so if anything changes, you will be emailed. You can certainly be kept abreast of what's happening. We endeavor to be open and transparent here. Okay. My mug today is a little different. It's actually a construction hat, but it's kind of a mug when I turn it upside down. So that's because we've had a couple good projects in town here. Many of us were at the Voorhees Station project opening. That's affordable housing and picking up the Route 27 area of town. I was there, Councilwoman, and sorry if I miss anyone, Francois, Councilman Sherman, Councilman Chase, Councilman Wright, and our Assemblyman, Upendra Shivakula, was there also. This is a long effort from a long time coming, about 10 years when redevelopment and specific projects were put in place. And as I mentioned, Councilwoman Francois was big on starting to bring up that area for the residents, for the children, for the people, and it's coming into fruition now. And our Assemblyman, who was mayor at the time, was very instrumental in that also. And as far as future construction, we're going to be groundbreaking in a couple weeks, or I should say ribbon cutting. Somerset County Social Services is moving into the new Reverend DeForest B. Soaries residence building. There's going to be a ribbon cutting there in a couple weeks. So again, thank you to Redevelopment Agency, council people who are pushing that. Certainly Reverend Soaries and his congregation, who are absolutely instrumental in bringing that along and doing all the million details that it takes to do that. We had our Memorial Day parade that went very well, large group. Captain Roberts, again, was very moving and poignant in his talk. Our Franklin High School ROTC participated. They even emceed. It was all very good effort. And a foreshadow, I think, for our manager, Mr. Vornlocker. We received $100,000 in Clean Communities Fund. He'll tell you his plans on that, I think, a little later. We are one of the highest in the state to get that. Out of 565 municipalities, we're in the top few in dollars. We'll put that, obviously, to good use. And coming up, Somerset County Business Partnership is having a Meet the Mayors event for 5 of the mayors in the eastern part of Somerset County, Franklin being one of them. That's going to be June 4th. There's a flyer out there. It can be made public. What we are going to do is try and showcase Franklin, entice new businesses, encourage Somerset County Business Partnership and the Chamber here in Franklin to do as well as they could and to help us planning meetings. Mr. Vornlocker, I was there. Deputy Mayor Brian Regan was in on it and instrumental to pushing us so that we could do our best there. That should lead to more jobs, fuller hotels, fuller office space, which translates to less tax increases for our residents because there's more businesses picking that up and it's more robust. And also primary election day, if you are so bent on voting, is June 3rd. And anytime one has the opportunity, if you're affiliated with a political party, it is always a good idea. And that concludes the mayor's report. So now we have item number 7, the Deputy Mayor's report. So Deputy Mayor Brian Regan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So for my report tonight, it's just going to be brief. I really just wanted to highlight from the last meeting, as you recall, we actually introduced and accepted our municipal budget for this coming year. As I indicated the last time I spoke, that was a very long process involved in that. Well, tonight we'll have a couple of bonding ordinances associated with what we approved. So you're going to see some bonding ordinance that we're going to vote on for streets and capital items that were approved in at our last meeting as part of our budget. So just so everyone is aware that that's part of the process, not something new or additional since the last meeting. Additionally, after that, I was speaking to our township manager, and he reminded me that we in Franklin can be very proud of our financial stability. Standards & Poor's has rated the town a double A plus bonding, which is one of the highest, and we are going in the right direction. You've heard a lot in the papers recently about how sad a shape the state's in, and that under the currently in the last few years the state's rating has been downgraded, I believe, 5 times in the last few years. So we in Franklin work hard to do the opposite. We try to be good stewards of the tax revenue that we receive to ensure that we provide the services we can. And because of our financial stability and what we have in reserves or in our savings account, we will hold that rating for 2 years. I believe the report said they will not need to evaluate us again for 2 years. So again, for the residents, this is very good I think good news for you all, and something that and I believe all our council people are very happy about, because that's ultimately what our role is here, one of the roles is to provide strong financial stability. You will find, or you may see in the news relative to other towns in the surrounding area, that they don't have the same financial stability as we do. So we work hard at trying to do that. Additionally, for Memorial Day, we had a very fine parade. Due to being out of town, I was not able to attend, but I do want to thank the parade chairman, Bob LaCourte. He did a wonderful job pulling everything together. I heard it was fine, and I saw the pictures in the Franklin Reporter. So he was busy that day taking the pictures of everybody that attended the parade. And then, relative to that day, obviously the parade and the ceremony is important, but it really is important for what we remember of that day, of all the lives of the service men and women that have given their lives to our country, and to the sacrifice of their families. And additionally, that carries over more to the men and women who've come back from war who are not whole, who are missing limbs, or their bodies are emotionally, they are in a different mental health has been affected. And again, the sacrifices of those families for those servicemen and women are what we have to remember and be thankful for them, because their sons and daughters, husbands, brothers, wives, sisters, they were the ones that went out to fight for our freedom. So I'm very grateful for that. And again, for the fact that in Franklin, we do take time to celebrate that day in their memory. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Good, very good points, good points. So now we come to item number 8, public discussion. This will be the only time in the meeting you can speak of anything of a general nature to us. We're glad to hear it. And our basic policy is we allow 5 minutes per person. And there'll be a timer, so when you hear a tone goes off, that means 3 minutes has elapsed. When you have multiple tones, that means 5 minutes has elapsed. And I'll ask you to wrap up your thoughts if you haven't so far. Please tell us what's on your mind. Ask us any questions. When you come to the podium, please give us your name and address. Keep yourself about 3 or 4 inches from the microphone. That way we hear you properly. And our audio and video camera, which has audio, picks it up properly also. And as is our policy, people come up once per meeting. There's no yielding of time. And again, we're glad to hear what's on your mind. So is there a motion to open the meeting for public discussion?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion is carried. Meeting is open for public discussion on any item of interest, which does not have a public hearing of its own. Anyone interested in speaking, please raise your hand when I recognize you. Come to the podium, give us your name and address. Yes, sir. Come on, yeah. And you can just, pull the microphone towards yourself. And also, please direct all your questions, comments to the council here.
Sure, thank
Thanks.
you, Mayor and Council. Brian Bidlack, 115 Charles Street. I would just like to come tonight and once again voice my concerns about the proposal we learned about a few weeks ago on the sound system for Middle Bush Park complex that it may have on my property, my quality of life, and also to the surrounding Middle Bush area. I would also like to state I'm very appreciative to the council of comments that I did receive that we heard at the last meeting on the impacts that the sound system could have on our quality of life on Charles Street and the surrounding Middle Bush area. Just want to let you know that I'm very appreciative of those comments and concerns. I understand council is going to do a field trip to a neighboring municipality to review a sound system in a similar scenario, and I look forward to hearing comments back from the council members on what they find and what concerns there may be in that end. So once again, appreciative of your attention to this, but I will continue to watch it, and am very concerned in regard to my quality of life and living there on Charles Street. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else wish to speak? Yes, ma'am. Yeah, come on.
Good evening. My name is Ellen Vastola. I live at 43 Norwich Place. So it's a common interest community that's just behind Gauguin.
Sure.
So when I heard about this, that kind of pricked my ears, so to speak, about the loudspeakers. Having been a former safety professional at Rutgers, Rutgers has to conform to OSHA, POSHA. We do audiometric monitoring because you have to take care of your employees, your workers. And now we're dealing with a loudspeaker that's going to impact people in their homes, where they spend 16 hours of their lives, potentially. And we have families, young families, and I've been doing a lot of research because that's what I like to do. I'm home, I'm retired from Rutgers, I'm on the internet, and I've been looking. Things have been out there, published about since January 2005, that excessive decibel levels can disturb children's reading abilities. It can have different health effects such as cardiovascular, digestive. And, I'm really pleased to hear that you're going to do some testimonials maybe, or from other municipalities that have done this. It's like, let's not reinvent the wheel. Let's follow the model of another successful, municipality. But for me, my personal druthers, I don't want it, because I like the bucolic, the nice way of life with that what I bought into when I first came here to Franklin. I know it's changed, and I've had to develop my own personal mantra about changes, and it is, sure, I like change as long as I initiate it. So this keeps me laughing, keeps things in perspective. I know I live in a community and everybody has their needs. And I want to also say, too, needs and wants are two different things. You may want a sound system. Do you really need it? How will it impact? I mean, I've been talking to some of my neighbors. I walk past them now, and I'm now getting to know them. And I do have, great reservations about the need and what the decibel levels will be when it crosses the boundary line to the people who live on Gauguin and Charles, and how far is that going to carry over to me? I already live in a dense community, and I like it to be quiet. I think I want to go to the baseline. Everybody is kind of quiet, which makes, I think, our life, well worth living. And as I've been doing research on hearing health effects, once you damage your hearing, it doesn't get better. That, if we do it to our children, and I may not have children, although I do judge for 4-H, I've been doing that for 20 years, but when we have to safeguard the health of our children. Yes, I know Pop Warner is all about building, character, teamwork, and I looked at that website, and Pop Warner addresses children ages 5 to 14. So that is like maybe, from what I've heard, it's 400 students. And looking at some statistics on the internet, Franklin has 48,000 students. So we're talking 400 students to, not 4,800 students. Thank you. Order of magnitude. So I just want to keep this in perspective. And I tend to believe in being conservative when we're talking about municipalities, when we're talking about people's quality of life and the health, the hearing of our young generation going forward. And we have all this technology, and this technology is all about blasting in your ears, blasting. And I even mentioned to some other people, what about Wi-Fi? Instead of loudspeakers to me, so 20th century, so last century. What about Wi-Fi? That way the people who want to hear it will plug into it. And as my mother used to say, she was very German and very logical, go blast your brains out. But, please don't do that to me. So I'm hoping there is a good compromise. I do have some research that I can leave with the secretary, and if you want it, in electronic form, I can share that. I tried to be as accurate as possible. Summing up, I haven't quoted a lot. But literature is out there about learning disabilities for children, health effects, and the question is, do we really need this? My personal opinion, from what I know so far, is maybe we don't. Let's just enjoy this bucolic way of life. Have the kids go out and play. Do we need to blast? So, thank you very much for your attention.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah, you can give it to our clerk, Ms. McCarthy, and if you want to send it electronically, you can find us on the internet, seeing you're so good at it, and email it to us. Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Well, yes, ma'am. Yeah, come on up.
That's the trend.
Good evening. I'm Roma Malkana, and I'm from 3 Godwin Way. I'd like to thank you all for giving me the opportunity to speak. I was here 2.5 years ago also and spoke up several times when they were not yet constructing the fields, but that's done, and we had to accept that and make it as part of our way of life. I bought into Somerset, in Franklin Township rather, 12 years ago from the builder, Pizzo and Pizzo. We were not informed at all about any park, forget about a stadium or a sports complex, which is more of what this has become from what I'm hearing, from the magnitude of it. On 3 Gorgan Way, I live with my husband, who is disabled from a stroke at the age of 57, unfortunately. But there are things we have to deal with that God gives us, and I accept that as my lot in life, my destiny, and we have to fight with those things and struggle with those things and try to overcome them. And God himself gives us the strength for that. But I like to protest very strongly when my own county, my own people, my own community wants to take away our privacy, our right to quiet and peace. And right now we can hear the sounds of the cheering and the games in my home without even our doors or windows being open. I dread to think about what it will be like when the loudspeakers come. So today I'm here to protest against the loudspeakers. And I hope that my small voice will have some effect, maybe a larger effect than even I hope for, because I know that the council is all here rooting for us also, not just for the big giant that's trying to trample us down. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else who hasn't spoken would like to speak? Yes, ma'am. Then you go after her.
Hi, good evening. My name is Jasmine Castro. I live at 1 Gorgan Way. I was one of the original purchasers from Pizzo and Pizzo. I know that we've spoken quite a lot in reference to how a park can benefit the children, and we're all in agreement. No one disagrees with that. Everyone's 100% on board with that. My only concern is the speakers. Today I come to speak to you. I happen to be a realtor. I live on Gorgan, so I'm definitely affected by everything and anything that happens to this town. Wanted to speak and bring a point of the negative ramifications of an actual complex, which is what this park has turned into, to our homes. So whatever you paid for your home is your issue. Whatever you intend to sell it for is basically what most of us claim for, or live for. You live to, you hold a house for 30 years, you maintain it, you keep it in hopes of, God willing, you getting a good return for your children and or your elder years, your later years. Once that happens, once the complex is in place, and it is now in place, and once speakers come into place, along with the actual lights, etc., and the actual complex that has been placed in our backyard, the sale of our homes will be impacted in a very negative way. Picture yourself in a home that you purchased 12 years ago, 10 years ago. You look to sell it in 4, 5, 6, 10 years, and there's a complex in your backyard. You will have a problem selling this house. You will lose money when you sell this house. You will not be able to show these houses on Saturdays and Sundays, because anyone with half a brain is going to walk in there and say, there's no way I'm investing in a property where the park is right here. Now, granted, we know that there's a park there. We realized in the last couple of meetings that, there are homes and there are other parks where homes were built on, etc. We had our homes built and a park was placed behind our backyard. on our backyards. I am appealing to all of you. Think of your homes. Think of what you would like to do with you when you do sell your house. You want to be able to make your money because at the end of the day, that's basically your biggest investment. 30 years to pay a house. You want to be able to get money back. You want to be able to bank on the money. Basically, that's what you're doing. As an actual realtor, I can tell you that on Charles Street, there are 20% of the homes on sale today. I know that because that's what I do for a living. The turnover on the houses on Charles is tremendous. No one stays there. I intend to bring actual data which backs that up and proves the fact that if you have a house that has sold 3 and 4 times in the last 2 or 3 years, there's something wrong not only with the house. There has to be something wrong. Common denominator, there's a park behind us. There are lights behind us. Now you're putting speakers behind us. Think of your home.
Ms.
Think
Castro?
of your backyard. Yes, sir.
Sorry to interrupt you.
That's right.
We'd be interested in any data you could bring, but if you could be as objective and conservative as possible, if you have any research, about the situation, understanding you live there, if you have any research or can come across any that looks at other places that have gone through this, where you can really look at the pre-sound system versus the post-sound system. The park's there. It's not going to go anywhere.
Right, we understand.
Most of us are glad it's there.
Right.
So just to deal with the... Anyway, but as far as sound system versus non-sound system, not saying that's going to be what any of us, including myself, base our decision on, but if we're dealing with facts and, you have 50 houses affected and the average is proven that it goes down $20,000 a house, you have to look at the, whatever that equates to $42,000 in lost revenue a year for the town. We don't know, but that should be part of what we look at. So if you can bring that information, but again, factual information.
Got you. No, obviously,
I'd appreciate it.
I intend to bring that up, but at the end of the day, I just want you guys to really think of the fact that people are investing in their lives. This is their livelihood. You're not buying a pair of shoes, you're not buying a TV, you're buying your home. And it would be a horrible thing to think that people have to leave because there's a park being built behind us. And that's it. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. Yes, go ahead. Thanks.
My name is Gina Ulrich, and I live at 209 Wilson Road. My family and I just moved here last year. This December will actually be 2 years that we're in this town. And the main reason why we decided to move to Franklin Township was because we wanted to leave the city behind and come to the country, and that's the way we looked at Franklin Township. I love the fact that in my property, I have deer in my backyard all the time. And one of the things that we talk about most is how on Saturdays and Sundays, we love to sit in our backyard, and the only sounds that we hear are the sounds of the birds chirping. That is the main reason why we moved here from the area that we used to live in. We are sick of listening to cars, loud music, speakers, everything that's loud is in all the other surrounding towns. But when you come to Franklin, it's like you're leaving the state of New Jersey almost and coming to the farmlands, and it's beautiful, and I don't want that to change. When we moved here, we felt as though we were buying our dream home, our future. I have a 9-year-old daughter. This is where we want to live out the rest of our lives. And it's so disheartening to know that speakers can be put right into my backyard. And I know that some of you may think that this is a positive thing for this park in the town, but you really have to ask yourselves, how would you feel if you just bought into a town for the peace and quiet and just the beautifulness of this town, to only have it be taken away with speakers? We work very hard all week, as I'm sure all of you do. And our weekends is our time to be with our family in that peace and quiet. And to think that I'm not going to have that anymore, and I thought that I just got away from it, now only to find out that it's going to be in my backyard, that's beyond upsetting to myself and to my family. And before you make any decisions, I think you really need to ask yourselves, how would you feel if it were your backyard? is that what you want to hear on Saturdays and Sundays? You know, you have the sports complex, you have all the things that go with it, but is it really necessary to now put in speakers to make it that much worse for the residents that live right behind it? I think it's something that everyone really needs to take a long, hard look at and really, really think about it. And again, you have to keep asking yourselves, what if it were your backyard? What if you just moved to your supposed dream home and town to then find out maybe it's not the dream that you thought it was going to be? So I thank you for taking the time to hear me out, and I really, really hope you take that into consideration before you make any decisions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Yes, sir.
My name is Brian Ulrich. My name is Brian Ulrich, 209 Wilson Road. She's my wife. I'm not going to speak as long as she did because I'm not really a speaker, but I oppose it as well. That's our dream house, and the birds and the wildlife, it's all you can hear out there. And anybody that wants to know a study, I grew up in North Edison right next to J.P. Stevens, who has a speakers, and it really is loud. Every Saturday, every Sunday, fumble, first down, constantly. As the crow flies from my house, it's 2,000 feet to the goalpost via Google Earth. I grew up 1,800 feet from J.P. Stevens speakers. What's the difference? I moved to get away from that. So, Brian Ulrich, 209 Wilson Road. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Yes, sir.
Hello, my name is Salim Malkana. I live at 3 Gauguin Way. My family moved in about almost 13 years ago, the day before Thanksgiving, 2001. It was a great Thanksgiving. We've had Thanksgiving there every year, and it's been fantastic. I've loved being in this town. I volunteered for this council, thanks to the help of Mr. Fasanella, for the Cable TV Advisory Committee. It was a great part. I really enjoyed that service, and I've loved being a part of this town. My family has been here for 13 years, since the houses were built. You might think, so already we have this park there, which is really already a sports complex. You might think that the sound that we already hear is the sound of children playing. It's not really. The sound is cheers and boos for, not boos, but, you know, angst in a game. We're hearing cheers for a game, not the sound of children playing on a playground. So I encourage you to take a walk down Charles Street. I encourage you to take a walk down Gauguin Way. Already you hear the sound of sports games. That's it, sports games. It doesn't matter if there's college. It could be Rutgers in my backyard. I could be hearing a Rutgers game. I can't tell. You already have the lights. I go for an evening walk, an evening run. You already have, I don't even know, are they 8 lights? 8 by 2, 16 massive halogen lamps, 16,000 watts. I don't know what they are, but they're blinding at night. I encourage you to take a walk down Charles Street and listen and watch for these lights and this game. That will only get massively amplified by bringing loudspeakers. I can already, hear these games sitting in my front yard. Thank God my property isn't the one that backs directly onto the park, but I can hear it across the street. They can hear it on Wilson Drive. This is the quality of life for families who have been here for us over a decade, for others more than 2 decades. So this is our life that we are living here. It's about that quality that we enjoy as we are residents and as we volunteer for this township and as we are just members of this community. It affects us now. It will affect us greatly more once there's amplified sound at this sports complex. I'll add that the other day I went for a great run behind my house. There's a little trail in the woods with the trees there. And I had the fortunate, I saw the deer there, and I took a couple pictures. It was really nice. Those, at the end of that trail, which used to just be nothing, now there's a massive retention basin, and I can see the construction of additional fields. There's additional expansion of the park. And now, you can have people walking through that, now literally in my almost to my backyard. It's about 30 feet from the property stakes on my yard. You can have people shuffling back and forth, because if you're familiar, there's a path between Gauguin Way and Martino Drive. There's a walking path. So now people are cutting through what is a wooded area where there are deer, because there's so many games, there's so much happening there. And I know that's not something that, you've already made a decision on that. Those already exist. but this will just amplify and create more and more, of course. So when does this stop? Are we making the bleachers bigger? Are we making a stadium seating? How many 100 people can sit there? How amplified are we getting? This is becoming, it's hugely impacting us for where people are coming here for the country or to be in a calm township. Now I have people cutting through the path behind my house. I have cheers from a game in front of my house. I have lights while I walk after dinner. This is not why we sought out Franklin Township and why we've enjoyed the first 13 years of our time here. I hope to have that house. I hope to be a part of this community for many years to come. And these lights and this expansion of the sports complex is not necessary. And I know that we established that for the quality of life of the children in this community, and that's good. But there has to be reason here. There has to be a balance for the community and for the residents of our community. Again, my name is Salim Malkana. I live at 3 Gauguin Way. We've been here since 2001. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So we're still in our public discussion. Anyone who hasn't spoken, and again, this is the only time to speak at this meeting, please raise your hand. Yes, sir.
Hello, my name is Bill Terhune. I live at 135 Charles Street, and I would just like to sort of follow up on some of the other comments regarding the loudspeaker system that is being discussed for Middlebush Park, sports complex, whatever you would like to refer to it as, and to voice my displeasure at the thought of the loudspeaker system being put in, to question the necessity of such a system. I've heard people say in the past that it's, this is all for the children, The fields are for the children. And I have no problem with the development of the park and the fields. I've been to the fields, I've seen them, they're very beautiful, they're gorgeous fields. But to me, a loudspeaker system is a want, it's a luxury. It's not a need. It's not needed for the players on the field. To me, it's more for the parents sitting in the stands. And to me, that's a luxury. So I just want to voice my displeasure, keep it simple, short. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Yes, sir.
Hi, my name is Kirk Frost, 58
Put
People's Line Road.
microphone. Put to your, yeah, that's good.
Kirk Frost, 58 People's Line Road. I have a couple things I want to talk about.
It's kind of hard to hear you. Can you speak up a little bit, please?
I have a couple of things I'd like to talk about. And the first is it's amazing how you need to listen. You listen to all the different voices here at the town meetings, and it's quite a task. I appreciate that very much. I did want to speak about the sound system at the Middlebush Park, and I don't live there. I'm glad I don't live there. I look on Google Maps, and you can use the ruler on Google Earth, rather, and you see that a number of the homes are less than 200 feet distance from that first field. I imagine there must have been a lot of things that went into why the fields were placed adjacent to that road. So I can't, I don't, it's not something I would rationalize or understand, but it's very close to those people in their backyard. The other thing is, what I see is that Franklin Township is evolving, but it's also having an identity challenge. We have voted number 5 place to live in the United States on signs. We talk about farmland, we talk about open space, we talk about the history that's here. And there's quite amazing history here. So, yet, I love kids, I love sports, I love those pieces of it, and we're a growing town, and so obviously the field was created, and the next thing that comes into it is we need to put the speakers up. So, I know there's many attributes to this, and listening to people, and grateful also that the town meetings are on video, but listening to the different perspectives here and understanding, I've got many memories of different games, whether I'm in it or watching or cheering other people on, and enjoying the community aspect of that, but also enjoying here in Franklin the community aspect of why I moved here and why apparently a lot of other folks did, in terms of the identity that Franklin tends to even advertise in terms of being voted number 5. That's the open space. It's a lot of the hard work that the township has done in order to make it such a nice place to live. So with this one area, I just have a couple of suggestions. And, you know, and one of them is perhaps form a committee with the residents that live there. Have them a part of the say in this. I think that, you know, from my perspective, yes, speakers probably are a good thing. But the way that they were presented in the last meeting, they're in the middle, they're pointing outward. That's not the only way. I forgot, I don't remember which council member raised it, but there are other options, and we should be looking at those. We should be looking at it so that the speakers project. So as one person pointed out, at the stand, where's the stand? Point at the stand away from the houses. So it's not going to the houses. Doesn't have to be a big speaker because it doesn't have to go everywhere, but it could be focused there. Now the other thing about this too is that we've talked about other income revenue coming in from this. So where do you want to take this? What's the strategy with this park? Do you really want to start selling it out to other resources to bring income to it? If so, again, that should be a part of how you plan this, but also bring the neighbors into it. Another suggestion is about the aspect of it's going to impact house value. And yeah, you would like to have data on that, absolutely. I know of it from when I was a kid, when a similar situation happened in my high school. The people who lived near that field didn't want to be there. And people didn't want to move into there because they see the Friday night games and things like that. So it's kind of a no-brainer, but I think that if we look at the what defines Franklin, why people move here, also acknowledge that we need to change and evolve in order to accommodate the changes in children and development and how we advertise ourselves. Take a look at that. That's the other things I wanted to just mention on Resolution 14246 from last meeting about the St. Charbel Maronite Catholic Church Carnival. I think the aspect that if the town mayor or deputy mayor could provide a report at the next meeting in terms of how many people were present, how late did it go to on the nights, that would be useful because then we can see whether or not it did outgrow its current venue. And I'm sorry, 2 more things real quick. One is the cable committee, not cable committee, cable franchise renewal next week, next meeting rather. That's a huge item. And the cable committee is asking us to renew for 15 years. Technology is changing every single year. Their service has been subpar. I've never had a problem where I've called them up about their issue. It's always been their issue. I had one problem, but I didn't call them for that. I did it. I fixed it. And that's over, I don't know, more than 10 years. So I'm very concerned about going forward with the cable franchise agreement, and I really strongly recommend that you, the council, push it off. Say we'd like to just extend our existing agreement for the next 2 years so we can really ratify where we want to go with that. Last thing, just the raising the barn at the Rockingham. I watched that video, and I thought it was excellent. And the time and amount of education that comes out of it is it helps identify who Franklin is. And so I'm very appreciative of that. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else who hasn't spoken tonight would like to address us? Yes, ma'am, please.
I'm sorry I just kind of ran in here, but as I said last week, I'm Catherine Samini, and I have a business in town, and I had patience until 7:30, so I apologize for being late. First off, I also want to say I spent Memorial Day morning, watching the television show, Your Local Government at Work. So I learned a couple of things, and I did realize that there were comments that were made from all of you council people, which I, again, because of my home situation, I had to leave early, so I didn't get to stay. So let me just say for the record that if it gets too late and I got to go again, I'll be watching you on TiVo. But I do want to say, because I noticed I didn't thank you when I finished. So I want to say sincerely thank you. I was myself on a board, and I've been a coach and a referee, as I said last time. You do not have an easy job, and I appreciate the fact that you listen to everybody complain, and you listen to people getting very animated, as I was, and as some of the other people were last week. And so I very sincerely thank you for your service. It's a hard job to weave the needle of the eye and do right by everyone. And I will say, I know that there are some very strong vested interests here on the council. I know that there is, Councilman Wright is a previous announcer for Pop Warner football, and he's got to love this. This has got to be a passion for him. And I'm not sure that there's someone who's listens to the birds in their backyard, but I imagine someone does. So I know that Councilman Sherman and Councilman Kramer have really brought this to the neighborhood's attention, so my guess is they're the nature lovers. But there's probably more of you on the council, I'm guessing. But I heard balance last week at the end of when you had comments. I believe, Councilman Francois, you said that, balance. And I want you to know that we've talked, some of the neighbors have gotten together and talked about this, so there's been a positive outcome of this. We certainly are coming together as a community that we haven't done in a while. However, I want you to know a point was raised, and it's a good point. Balance is a give and take. We've already given a lot. And when this sports complex is running, and again, I'm an athlete, well, not much of an athlete anymore, but I am an athlete, and I was a coach, and I am and was a referee. It's a beautiful complex, but it's not a park. It's huge. It's going to bring traffic into our little country roads here. And I don't know if you've ever tried getting up Cedar Grove Lane lately, but it's pretty packed. So we are giving by the virtue of us being here and it being built here. It's not about not wanting the kids to play. Nobody got up here and said, we don't want the kids. Nobody got up here and said, we don't like the kids, or we don't like soccer, we don't like football, we don't like skating. It's not about that. It's about, we want to go to the game, we don't want the game to come to us. Everybody here has a backyard. Everybody here has a party in their backyard. Everybody here has music. I said the music word. Music playing in their backyard. You wouldn't be happy if someone was imposing on that festivity that you had, or on that quiet time that you had, or on whatever. You wouldn't be happy if it was your backyard. Now, I know, listen, NIMBY, not my backyard, right? Not my backyard. It's got to be somebody's backyard, of course. But we're really not even saying that. We're not saying rip the park out. I mean, you're going to hear some comments about those lights, I got to tell you, but nobody's saying take the park away. Nobody's saying it should not be there. That's a NIMBY. That's a real NIMBY when somebody says, not my backyard. We're not saying that. What we're saying is, please, allow people to have their own music, to have their own parties, and not be imposed upon. Let us go to the game. Don't bring the game to us. That's what we're saying. And actually, last week when I came, I thought it was soccer and Pop Warner. It's Pop Warner. It's not soccer. Soccer's going to have to be talked into it. And, okay, so maybe we could say Pop Warner's only a few Sundays a year. It's from 9 o'clock in the morning until 4 o'clock in the afternoon, those few Sundays a year.
Okay.
And they want play-by-play is what I heard.
Thanks.
Plus entertainment.
You have to wrap up.
Okay, I have to wrap up.
Yes.
So, all right, I have other things, I'll come back.
Okay.
I'll save them for when I come back. But I'm
Okay,
right now
that'd be
going to
good.
say thank you very much, and I really appreciate that you are trying and that you sacrifice your time to try to weave this needle. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, anyone else who hasn't spoken would like to speak? Yes, sir.
Hi. This is the first time I'm attending this meeting, so...
So sure, just
sorry.
go to your name and address and let us know what's on your mind.
So Mayank Patel, 129 Charles Street. The park actually is in my backyard. And actually, sorry, before I want to say thank you because you guys are like rock stars to me. I see you on TV all the time. First time I come in face to face with all of you. Anyway, so and Mr. Wright is not going to pay attention to me. That's fine. But at least whoever wants to pay attention, park is in my backyard. I'm a nice neighbor. I want Township to be a nice neighbor too. Don't put speakers in my backyard. Now, this is not the Franklin Township. This is not even 5% of Franklin Township. That's because it always works. Majority of people always win, right? But who's going to look out for the other small percentage? I mean, if majority always won, that's how they justified the slavery, the segregation, and even Mr. Putin taking over part of Crimea, like, majority wins. So it's my house. I paid for it 2 years ago. I'm very proud of it. I worked very hard. But it's my house. I build patio, I build wood floor, I build basement. And Mr. Ryder's not going to care. He wants to build these speakers. And I mean, he's doing good things for kids, but if they're going to destroy my livelihood inside my house in a sense of peaceful living, then it's not fair to me. And if you guys are going to go ahead with this thing, then at least help me pay for like soundproof windows or something. I mean, I'm not saying pay full because 13 years windows, so I depreciate it. But fair is fair. I mean, fair is fair. So it's a free house. I paid for it. I mean, I just got back home from work, New York City I come from. So it's long commute for me. But you gotta take in account that majority always wins, but that's not always fair. Majority of times it doesn't live in this area, and my house is right in backyard of the park. So I'm a good neighbor, and Township should be a good neighbor too. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, thank you. Anyone else who hasn't spoken would like to speak?
Mr. Mayor, upon seeing no one else coming up to speak, I make a motion to close the public session.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion is carried. Thank you very much. And if I may, a quick interjection, let you know that this will be brought to the public. It's not going to be decided in the middle of the night or anything. It's all going to be very public and input, and hopefully we come to an agreement everybody likes, but it will be all done out in the open. So we're going to go to standing committee reports. Then we'll go to council comments. Anyone may or may not comment on this. I don't know. So we're at item number 9 on the agenda now, standing committee reports. So the first one we have is Administration Committee. Councilwoman Kimberly Francois.
We met almost a month ago, and we talked about a lot of policies and procedures within the township. In particular, we talked about court administration, which I'm not going to get into. But the one thing I did want to bring up is we need to review our health department shared services contract. And one of the things that the admin committee recommended is that we bring in the Somerset County Director, health health director and have him review the performance metrics and how well they're doing for us for our providing services for our health department. And so we need to set up a date. Anne Marie? I'm not sure what they were looking at, but we need to, if everybody agrees that that's something that we need to bring back on the table. And the reason being, our shared services contract is going to be coming up soon, and we need to renew it.
You want to do that with full council first, or have it come to admin?
With the full council.
Or you want it to come to admin first and then go to full
I
council?
thought we said we wanted to come to the full council.
All right.
Are you thinking that?
Because we're acting as a health department governing body.
Oh, yeah.
Have them come one time.
You're right.
With the
I
board.
You're right, I now recall that's what we decided. Very good.
Are you considering that as a special meeting or like before a regular meeting? Is there a concept on that?
Preferably before a regular
Like
meeting.
at 6 o'clock?
Like an hour before? Would that be enough time?
Mr. Mayor, we're required by law to have one annual meeting of the health board
Yeah,
as the health board.
Okay.
once
So
a year.
this is that once-a-year meeting that we have to have.
Okay.
Trying to schedule it.
Not to interrupt, but I believe what we discussed in administration was the fact that you are required to have one, but that does not preclude you from having more than one a year. And this would be in addition to the regular annual one that you've been holding the last several years.
I think we would like to have one and have the full body.
Well, no, I'm saying another Board of Health meeting in addition to the usual annual with full council, just as you're speaking about. Not that it would have to be the only one that's held this year.
Right.
That's what I'm trying to get at. There could be more than one.
Okay.
Yes.
So perhaps, Ms. McCarthy, offline, you can ask if, let's say, you might start on the June meeting, the 24th, and just, find out what works. At 6 p.m., if that's a general consensus? Okay. Thanks. Okay, so Ms. McCarthy will coordinate that for us. We'll input to her what we think are good days for that. She'll reach out.
And the whole rationale behind them coming to the governing body as acting as the health department is so that everybody can hear the presentation, people can ask questions, and then the admin committee can then thereafter meet and take under advisement what we heard from the council.
Okay, thanks. Anything else from administration?
That's my report.
Okay, thank you. Financial Oversight Committee.
Yeah,
Councilman Phil Kramer.
yeah, I'm canceling patients on June 24th so I can be here. So Financial Oversight Committee has began to meet about figuring out what things are statutory as far as our expenditures. In other words, what things are we required to do by the state versus what things are optional, because we do still have, we are, as Councilman Regan said, we are in much better financial states than, shape than other towns around the state, but we still have some mending to do. And so we have to make some tough decisions, and we're going to collect the data so that we can make those decisions in as best a manner as possible. Until that process is complete, doling it out in dribs and drags would not be of any benefit. So that is a continuing process, and when we are completed and compile the data, I will let you know, or we will let you know.
Oh, okay, thank you. Public Safety.
Mayor?
Councilman James Passanella.
Yes, the meeting was several weeks ago, and I haven't received written notes from the meeting, but based on memory, I'll just mention a few of the items. We went over with the chief and other representatives the school emergency or school disaster plans for the township, for all the schools in township, and without going into the details, because some of it is not to be, I'm going to say, discussed publicly. In general, the chief seems to have everything up to speed, informed us, followed up on questions from months ago relevant to him meeting with the different schools, and public and private, and everything is gone very well, and I'm going to say near completing, making sure our schools across this town are prepared for possibility of any event that could possibly occur. We did review, I'm going to ask the manager to clarify possibility of dispatching relevant to the fire departments, going, let's just say altering how they were dispatched relevant.
I think that the Fire Chiefs Association and the fire districts are still working out
Okay.
whether or not they're going to make a formal approach. I know there's a meeting scheduled with the committee of the subcommittee of the fire chiefs this week, so I think it's premature to discuss
Okay,
anything.
just
as far
wanted,
as
that was
that's
something that we
concerned.
brought up, and I didn't think
It
it was
was.
finalized, so I'm sure through yourself or Deputy Mayor Regan, who's involved with those committees, will get more information as it progresses. There was some questions actually brought from some constituents of mine relevant to Franklin's ordinances that govern our taxi laws, fares, et cetera. And it's not really that complex, but it was suggested at the meeting that we would perhaps put an article in the newspaper, our township newspaper, not public newspaper, to clarify so everybody has an understanding of exactly the rules that govern pickups, drop-offs, and what is and isn't covered by our existing ordinance, which we right now feel seems to be doing the job, but, you know, we'll be watching and consider amending if necessary in the future. But hopefully that article will inform people. We do have a large amount of people in this town that do either occasionally or regularly use taxis for various reasons. And I believe that was it, unless Councilman Regan had anything, who also is on the committee, too.
That's pretty much it. You summed it up.
Okay. That's it, Mayor. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Land use, open space, parks, and recreation. Councilman Ed Chase.
Yeah. Councilman Wright usually asks, usually reports he asked me because he said he wasn't at the last meeting, but when we check back, I don't think we had a meeting at the end of April. It's unfortunate that our schedule for reporting, we tend to have the land use committee meeting is scheduled for the fourth Wednesday of the month. So it's always one day short of a full month before we get to report for it. I do have the minutes of the meeting we had, well, was really the March meeting that was postponed to April 2nd, I think, but I think we reported on that. They're mostly fairly small bore items in any case. And similarly, we did not have a meeting of the Public Works Committee in the last month.
Okay, thank you. And that kind of cover it for Public Works too, then? Is there any other Public Works?
Nope.
Okay. So now we come to item number 10, council comments. I guess I'll start here and I'll come back to you when you're there. Councilman Phil Kramer.
I thought we started here last week, but okay, I'll start. No, that's time. That's fine. I don't care. I was just surprised. On the Memorial Day Parade, I'd like to give a special thanks to both Bob and Nancy LaCourte. They put an enormous amount of time into it. I had to live through Bob LaCourte's efforts daily, but all I had to do was listen to his angst. I helped him a little bit, but he really did all the work. And so he was responsible for the parade, and Nancy was responsible for the ceremony, and she performed admirably under great pressures. It was a great parade and ceremony. The Canal Road Walk and Roll took place. I didn't get a number count this time, but I walked it and I rolled it, and in the time that it took me to do that, I saw at least 75 people, so I think it was very successful. In the past, I have brought up energy aggregation, And the feeling of council was, let's wait until the budget passes, and then we should be concentrating on it. Well, the budget is passed, so it is time. Energy aggregation is a method by which the town can act as a aggregator to bring people together, the citizens of the town, residents of the town, together in such a way that we as a single bargaining unit can bargain with or put out to bid with utilities, mainly electricity, to reduce our electrical rates so that we will get a set rate for the town for people under that. Rather than you are an individual going to PSE&G, we can go out to bidders essentially all over the country because of the way the electrical system works. And towns that have done this have saved 15% on the electric portion, the power portion, the energy portion of their electric bill. Your electric bill is divided into two parts, transmission and electric, or the energy portion. So you can save 15% on that. That's a lot of money. That can offset some of the taxes that we've been increasing. This is a tremendous benefit. I find very few negatives on it. It's an opt-out system so that if someone doesn't want to do it, they can opt out of it. So I will be pushing for that in the very near future. I think this is something that will be of great benefit to the citizens. And last is Middlebush Park. One aside, Mr. Patel, this is something I harp on. It's I wouldn't call it a pet peeve, but I think it's an important thing to realize. We are fond of calling this a democracy, but it is not. It is a republic. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands. And I'm very proud that it's a republic, not a democracy, because the majority doesn't always win. We have laws, and because of those laws, the minority doesn't necessarily get pushed out. Now, I don't know that it applies in this, but your comment, and I understand what you were saying, I'm not criticizing you, but you just gave me an opportunity to say this and to remind people we are a republic, and I'm very proud of that. On Middlebush Park itself, I thank the people for coming in. I think you spoke eloquently. I do think you have given a lot, and I will work my hardest to see that if a sound system comes in, that there is no impact on you. I cannot promise that because I am one of 9, but that is what I will be working towards. I guess that sums up my comments. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Councilman Carl Wright.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a couple of things right quick. The dedication service at RPM that we all went to, Councilman Francois, the mayor, Councilman Chase, Councilman Sherman, that's where we go. And myself, we were there for RPM's dedication ceremony for one of their buildings. It's a total of 4 buildings in Franklin Township. All 4 are mixed use and mixed income, I should say. On 3 of the buildings, we have retail outlets. Not big, but small. I think First Baptist Church leases space. We have a restaurant in one, a supermarket in one. A halal meat market is coming to one. So they look to be doing pretty good as far as filling up the space in that retail area. A little note on our housing authority that we have here in Franklin Township. Ms. Hazel Burnett retired, and they are now looking for a new housing director. And as the council liaison to the housing authority, we only have one senior housing building in Franklin Township that is covered by the Housing Authority. They just received a new building that was built, ironically, by RPM. So we're looking for a new housing director, and that'll end that.
Who chooses that?
The Housing Authority, not the council, because it's a separate entity.
That's what I thought.
Okay. Just a couple of comments that were made during the presentation, public discussion. One, yes, I do, and I have worked Pop Warner football. Since my daughter was 5 and she's now 23. I coached for 10 years, and I've been a game announcer since then. So if you heard anybody's big mouth, it was probably mine. But I just want to state for the record, it's not just Pop Warner. So just like some people were saying the sidewalks were strictly for the BOE, no. It's everybody here in Franklin Township. So if you stay a little bit, you'll hear further on down there's an ordinance. And that ordinance is a fee structure for everyone that uses the park. From Rutgers Prep until anyone out there that wants to use a field, there's a fee schedule coming up in this ordinance for that particular thing. Also, when you drop $500,000 on synthetic turf fields, in order for you to get your money's worth, and that was the presentation that we had here in this council chamber, one, you had to put lights on it. Because with lights on it, you might as well just built the dirt field. Two, and that was, just so you know, the Brad Sutter Carroll was the consultant firm that was brought in to do the work. Part two on that, the speaker system. Yes, we're going to do our very best to make sure that we do not impact your quality of life. But I'm not going to be up on this dais and lie to you and tell you at some particular point in time you will not hear it. I'm not going to lie. Not going to go down that road. So if you hear 1 decibel coming out instead of 10, that's fine. But I'm going to tell you, you will hear something. Just as they dropped the middle school and put the speaker system on there and got the houses all going around the middle school by the football stadium, yes. Just as if this council dropped the lights around the Little League field in the heart of the 4th Ward, and houses are only 50 feet away from the Little League field. No, let me rephrase that again. They're 50 feet away from the Little League field, and we have lights. The same lights that we put over there are the same lights we have over here. I don't think there's any difference. Mr. Township Manager, am I correct on that?
I'm sorry, could you repeat the question?
The lights that we have over on the Little League field, are they the same or basically the same?
Basically the same. They're the same company. Musco was the company manufacturer. Same basic. A little bit higher on the football fields than they are on the baseball fields.
Okay. And then there's one other thing that was an issue, and I'll jump back and forth. On those lights, and I checked, now, and I want to thank Councilman Kramer, because I checked. Right now, those lights are scheduled to come on at 7:15 and go off at, what time was it, 9:45?
That's correct.
And,
or unless they're shut off earlier if the activities are done for the night.
And that's what I was coming to. If there are no activities going on in that field, then those lights are not supposed to be on. Now, I contacted Ms. Alice Osipowicz, who's the Director of Parks and Recreation, and we went over on that same issue today. So it was, if the soccer clubs didn't have a game that night, didn't have practice that night, they should have called and said, the lights are still on, please turn them off. So as far as that's concerned, that should have been done. If it wasn't done, I'll make sure it's done. That's as far as the lights go. They should have been off, not on. I think that's, we're going to East Brunswick High School next week to look at what they have down there as far as the speaker system is concerned, just so that we would know what was going on up here and how it could minimize the impact of the residents up here. So that's one thing that we'll be going down to. I think it's Mark Healy, the Director of Planning, Tom Zelnick, our engineer, and myself. I don't think anybody else was scheduled to go from the council, but we'll be down there on the 6th at 10 o'clock to look at that area.
I'm going.
And that's it, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councilman Ted Chase.
I'm sure.
Yeah, I don't have much in the way of specific comments, except that I am listening to everything that's said about Middlebush Field, and I went and visited it after the Memorial Day parade and got a look at what the situation is, because that's not hearing, that's just seeing. To the lady from Norwood Place, and I'm sorry, I'm a little hard of hearing, and I tend not to get names when people speak, but the minimum requirement, and this is state code and township code, is 65 decibels at the property line during the daytime, and I think that's up till 9 o'clock at night, and 50 decibels after that. And I think we'll be looking, if we go with a speaker system at all, to have it a good deal lower than that. And that, of course, it'll be more than that for the kids on the field, but not, I think, enough to affect their hearing. And as someone else commented, the speaker system are really for the crowd, not for the kids on the field, for the viewers, to tell them what's happening. But Councilman Wright, I'm sure, is the expert on that. So I think that's really all I have to say. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councilwoman Kimberly Francois.
I was out of town for Memorial Day weekend, so I could not attend the Memorial Day parade, but I would also like to thank Bob and Nancy LaCour for their hard work. I know they worked very hard to organize that, and congratulate all the participants on the parade. I'm glad to hear everybody had a really, really nice time. I would also like to congratulate the 5 new officers and welcome them to Franklin. I'm sure they'll make us very proud, like the rest of our police department. And then I'd like to thank the members of the public who came here tonight. I appreciate your comments and how well you articulated your concerns. I have to say that your points were very well taken. And personally, I'm committed to making sure we achieve that balance. And we need to do our research and do our due diligence and make sure we do what's best for you in your neighborhood. And I really appreciate the fact that there was nobody that came up here and said, we don't want the park. The fact that you've accepted the fact that there is a park there, and you're just asking for the minimum basic requirements for the best quality of life. So we'll do what we can to make sure that happens. And I also appreciated that Wi-Fi comment. We need to look into the best technology that's out there. So we will definitely do what's best for your neighborhood and for the township as a whole, and try to achieve that balance. So thank you all for coming out. Appreciate your input. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councilman Rajiv Prasad.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Few things. India, the largest democracy in the world, elected a
Not a republic.
democracy. It is a republic.
I think it's a republic.
It's a republic.
Yeah. As far as I know, Switzerland is the only democracy. Probably wrong, but of the major countries, that's the only democracy I know of.
So India went through a selection process for a new prime minister, and they elected a new prime minister, and he's very pro-business, has done very well in his state, and they're hoping he'll do those kind of good things for the country. And because of that, a lot of your Indian Americans here who come from that state, Gujarat, were very proud of him and what he has done and expect a lot. And as part of the celebration, you got some sweets that Mr. Desai came and distributed, and that was part of the celebration that the community has had for Mr. Narendra Modi's selection as Prime Minister. I welcome the 5 police officers and wish them the very best and thank them for keeping us all safe. There is a primary on June 3rd, and if you are a Democrat or an independent, we have one of our town's favorite sons, former mayor, former councilman, now Deputy Speaker of the New Jersey Assembly, Upendra Chavukula, running. He's in the Democratic primary, but we have to turn out and support him if you're a Democrat or an independent. And so please, I urge you to vote, and if you're a Republican, you should vote in your primary as well, so that we have the best candidates for the November general election. Rush Holt, who did a great job as congressman for us, is retiring, and so we need to find somebody of equal caliber. So let's go out and make sure we vote on June 3rd. As far as the parade is concerned, I want to thank Bob and Nancy LaCourte. They give of themselves, tirelessly, untiringly. And as far as the sound system is concerned, we have to find the balance. And I ditto what Councilwoman Francois said just now. And as far as the cable franchise, somebody made a comment about that. There are certain regulations, and perhaps our attorney can elaborate on that for everybody, so that, there are limitations to what this council or this township even can do as far as the renewal is concerned. So if Mr. Renon could let everybody know.
I actually think that I've done a couple of memos, and in fact I provided the manager with a list of frequently asked questions. I'm not sure, Mr. Manager, whether or not that went up on the website. But there are substantial limitations as to what we can or we can't do. The 2 most common areas that I get questions on that we cannot deal with are the amount of fees that are charged and what type of programming is put on. We get those questions all the time. Why do I have to pay for my cable box? Why can't I get a discount if I'm a senior citizen? Why is the History Channel not in the basic channel? We have no control over that at all. We can't deny cable renewal based upon that. We can't. If we impose the condition, it would be struck by the state. So there really is very limited items that we can deal with, and basically they deal with issues as to, for instance, how they service the municipality, how many public government and education channels we have, so there really are kind of very limited items. Like I said, there is I think I circulated to council after the last meeting a copy of the kind of do's and don'ts that's published by the state that lists all of the various ordinance provisions that are not appropriate. So it is a very limited review. And the most common, I should say, the most common misconception is that we could deny a franchise renewal and that we would somehow foster competition with another cable franchise. Remember, Comcast owns all of the lines in the ground. We can't, the state will not let you not renew their franchise. So the question is how long we want to renew it for, and we have some, we have some leeway. It's not less than 10, no more than 15-year plus a 10-year renewal. So that's, and the other thing that we can't do you know, it's an open competition, so if anybody else wanted to come in, if Time Warner wanted to build a cable system, they could come and get a franchise and build a cable system. We've gotten a lot of questions recently about FiOS. I'm not sure, but I think one of the councilmen said to me that they were that a resident called up and FiOS said, "Oh no, we can't come into town because your town council won't let us in." But in fact, FiOS has a statewide franchise. They can build wherever it's practical and economically feasible for them to do that. I don't know whether they have a small portion of Franklin or not, but the answer is that if FiOS finds it in their economic interest to build out, they'll build out also. So, and ironically, that's competition.
Thank you. I think we should put up the FAQs at least on our website if they're not there.
They are, no?
They are. They were put
Okay,
up.
great. So with that, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councilman James Fasanella.
Thank you, Mayor. Thanks to the courts for their efforts at the Memorial Day festivities. Congratulations to the officers. I think one of them couldn't be here tonight. There was actually five replacement officers and 4 that were sworn in. Hopefully we'll maybe see the others sometime in a meeting. Just quickly, the comments, I appreciate the comments, the input, and I'm just going to, a couple of comments that I don't think were mentioned at the last discussion about this, or maybe they were, but they impacted me more tonight if they were mentioned previous, and that's the tax loss. I mean, inevitably there is an actual tax loss to the town, but doesn't mean we can't do it or shouldn't do it because of that, but that really needs to be taken into the equation, as all the facts do. The other thing that was mentioned tonight is this is a complex stadium, whatever you want to call it. It's not a park. You know, you go to Inman Park, we used to call Quarry decades ago. I mentioned that because it's a gigantic park, different uses. They're parks. They're not complexes. They're not stadiums. So I don't know if I would have built it exactly the way it's built. I mean, I wanted to see it built out, and maybe it's probably good for Franklin. We do have a complex, but I know it's mentioned about, you know, people should have expected there to be a park, or maybe you did expect there to be a park, not a complex. Again, but as far as what a developer would tell you, and this is true for all of Franklin, I have friends in other towns that have fallen victim to this, so to speak. Nothing against developers or real estate agents. I know there's one in the office audience tonight, but across the board, the only thing that's really relevant is what's on the record book in the town. And whenever anybody's buying a home or renting, please, if you know anybody, you go to the town, you look at what's on file, because anybody would have seen what, at least to a large degree, if not actually down to every item we can or cannot build legally. But if you go and you do your research, and I'm not putting down anybody's efforts here who bought and expected it to be more, let's say, representing nature. But there's zoning laws, there's open space laws, there's township master plans, there's a catalog, I have at home, most of them, of plans of what could have, should, might, or might not go into that space, going back to, I think, 2000 or 2001, big, thick plans, booklets and maps. So please, there's a lot of reasons, just to avoid any concerns or problems like this for anybody. But all that being said, the technology that was brought up, there's a lot. I'm not going to bore you with what I've been reading about. Technology usually is used for indoor arenas, but the same technology can be used for outdoor arenas where it's specialized transmission of facts or replays if it's visual, video, or it could be, whatever, text on a screen. But there is a lot going on in that arena, that area, and we really should look into that. The one other item I'll mention is the, sure, I don't have my reading glasses, I apologize. I don't know the schedule. I would not be comfortable. I can't swear I wouldn't vote for it, but I don't think I'd be comfortable allowing audio, real announcing of games going on from 8:39 in the morning till 4 or so in the evening. personally, that's just me. I am open to the idea of there being some featured games, maybe once a week. I don't know, but something was mentioned about 9 to 4. To me, that wasn't in my thoughts of what I would feel comfortable with. And the other thing I'm concerned about is, from Saturday night, I'm sorry, Friday, depending different religions, but, I don't know if I'd want to see something being announced on 10:30 on a Sunday morning. And again, I don't know the schedules, and I don't know what groups. I'm hearing now that other groups may want to use it. But the only real request has come from Pop Warner. So I think we need to be really conscious of, if we do have some kind of audio capability being utilized there, loudspeaker-wise, that we have a clear understanding as to what times of days and what days and how often and how many weeks are appropriate. So those are the kind of the facts that are very important to me, and I appreciate the information that was brought tonight. So one way or the other, we'll come across a decision. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councilwoman Rosalind Sherman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Most things have been spoken about. I'm not going to go through the issues, the list of Voorhees Station, the parade, the police officers, the primary. I mean, you've heard it ad nauseum, so I hope you got the message. And I won't go into that again. Two things were not mentioned, and then I'm going to get into Middle Bush Park. Number one, the mayor and I were both at the 50th anniversary. I don't know that you talked about it, Mayor.
No,
I don't think so. Somerset Presbyterian Church has been in Franklin for 50 years, which is a wonderful accomplishment, and I was very happy to be there and was given the privilege of making a few comments and letting them know how important they were to us. The other thing that I also wanted to mention was, I don't know if it was mentioned last time, a $250,000 grant that the township got for the JFK Boulevard resurfacing. So that's kudos to the township for applying and getting that. That's big time money, and it's very helpful. Okay, Middle Bush Sports Complex. We need to change the sign. It is not a park, not by any stretch of the imagination. And I urge everyone who is out there who hears me to go and look at it. And you tell me whether you want this in your backyard. And yes, indeed, everyone there knew about it because I held meetings and I spoke with people and they were fully aware of what was coming. Speakers were not in the original proposal. Pop Warner has a stadium. This is a matter of want versus need. They have a fully functioning stadium at the middle school. So they don't need to come to Middle Bush Middle Bush Sports Complex. They want to come because of the turf field, and I don't blame them. It's lovely, but it's not a need, it's a want. The potential for renting it, we're talking about 8 days or a year that Pop Warner would be using it. Well, if you rent that complex, that's not 8 days, ladies and gentlemen. That's from spring, assuming that the soccer buys into this, and if they don't, then Pop Warner has to pay for the speaker system. But if soccer does buy into it, that's from spring until November. These people are going to have sound coming into their homes, and it is disturbing for outdoors, bad enough, but it seeps into the walls of their home. Their children will be affected. Their ability to study and concentrate will be affected. I have to say, I was very distressed when I saw the park after the parade on Sunday. There are some homes that are totally exposed. Trees died. Trees weren't very big anyway. They weren't going to do a lot for these people. One of the things we always said, we were never going to make this park a reality for some while it's a detriment to others. We always said we were going to do everything possible to keep it as as unintrusive as it possibly could be, and I personally don't think we've done that. So we need to rethink what we've done here. There's a park being proposed in the southern part of Franklin, and I urge everyone who lives in the southern part who's going to be affected by this to come and look and see what's happened at Middle Bush Sports Complex, because you may face the same issue. This is not just an issue of the people being affected here, because if it gets passed and it is done here, any other park complex that is going to be built, the precedent will be set. And that's not what we want for our residents. This is not what we want for our community. Yes, we needed the fields. Yes, we're happy to have the fields. The speakers are not necessary. And we need to do something to give some relief on the intensity of the lighting. And we need to build up the berms and put in the trees that were totally destroyed and exposing homes. Where's the fence that we promised these people so people don't go walking in their backyard? It's still not there. We're going to make it happen because we made promises, and now we have several people who are concerned about what's happened, and we cannot allow this to happen to our township. So you know you've got some people fighting for you, and you've heard some reason. You were very reasonable tonight, and I really sincerely appreciated that. You affected the council here in a way that I'm very proud to hear them. I hope it's not just words, because when the Pop Warner people come here, please don't forget what you said and what you heard tonight. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Deputy Mayor Brian Regan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I know the tie stepped out, but the topic of the cable franchise came up. So it's in the memo that Lou sent us. We have to, by resolution, decide by August 8th that we are either going to renew or deny Comcast. We have no choice about that. And if folks' schedules, if you realize the schedule, that actually means that that has to be done at the July meeting. Because the meeting in August is after,
the decision, I don't mean to interrupt you, Deputy Mayor, not the decision.
So, yes, so there...
No, the decision to renew or not renew, not the terms of the renewal, just whether you're going to renew or not. Because if you say that you're not, then it proceeds in a different process. It gets kicked up to the state, and then the state takes over the renewal process.
Why do we agree first and negotiate afterwards?
No.
Because if you're not going to renew, because of the limited nature of what the renewal is. If you have grounds for, you believe you have grounds for non-renewal, you literally litigate at the state whether or not you can deny them the franchise or not.
And then more specifically, what Lou put in his memo, the decision to renew or deny the franchise renewal application must be made by town council no later than 150 days from the filing of the application for the renewal of Comcast. So they filed their application, and hence I assume that Lou got to the August 8th date by going 150 days after they applied. So what I think we need to do is we need to put together a task force or a subcommittee of council people to work with Bob and Lou to start figuring out what the terms are. When they come in for the public hearing on June 24th, we don't have to have everything decided by then. But certainly, if there are council members who are interested in having items put forth and discussing this, and because the report that we approved in the December meeting of 2013 on pages 16 through 21 has a whole bunch of suggestions from the cable committee that was formed. So they put together that. So to further this, because I actually started looking at this today when I realized like we were getting near, I'm seeing days and numbers of days, but I think like many council people, we're thinking that we had in December. So we don't. We have to make the decision we're renewing or not by August 8th, and unless the August meeting changes, that means we have to approve that resolution at the July meeting, and then we have to have folks who are going to work with Lou and Bob to say, you know, what are we putting on the list of requests to do that? So,
I volunteer.
So, well, I don't know if that's what we're actually doing, but Deputy Mayor, just a question. If we vote to proceed with franchise, I guess the attorney would answer this, but it comes to the point where one of the items, and there are very limited, that we are allowed to say we want A, and they may say we want B. What if that's not ultimately resolved? What would happen at that point? Because we voted that we want to renew but if you come to a stalemate of sorts, what is the laws that govern extension of the current or working without an agreement?
What would happen is that you would then introduce your ordinance and send it to the Office of Cable Television and say, this is what we propose the renewal to be. Comcast, if they haven't agreed, would object, and then we would go through a process in which the Office of Cable Television would determine what's reasonable and what's not. But they will temporarily extend Comcast's franchise as they go through the appeal process. The one thing that I wanted to say, because it's in my memo, and there are a number of things that you can or you can't do. The standard in terms of what we can put into a franchise ordinance is what is reasonable to meet the future cable-related community needs and interests, taking into account the cost of meeting such needs and interests. What you are managing here is the build-out of the cable franchise. So everybody's, the most common gripes about cable television have nothing to do with this. This is it's like you're building a sewer system. That's all we're talking about is, where the pipes are going to go, how far they're going to extend, what neighborhoods they need to get to. That's what we're doing here. Once that happens, you don't regulate what goes through those pipes. And I don't know how better, whether it smells or not. That's what we're doing here. Think about what the process was when you were the first time the cable franchise was granted. You took the proposals from companies and who could build out and who would build out fastest, who would get to the most service as quickly as possible. Those are the things that you're dealing with. This is not, it's not anything other than that. So one of the Councilman Kramer just asked me a question, which is a good question. What about areas that are traditionally underserved by cable? Can we do something about that? That's something you actually could do something about. You can talk to them about line extension services. In other words, if my house is within 500 feet of a line, you have to serve me, as opposed to if my house is within 2,000 feet of a line, you have to serve. Those are things that you can actually negotiate with them, and the only term that you really have as leverage is how long you're going to give them the franchise for.
And that's why I volunteered, because probably Councilman Chase and I's ward have some people who are not served. Maybe Councilwoman Sherman's ward might have someone or two, but probably not. It's Councilman Chase and I, so that's why I wanted to be on it, to see what I can do for those people.
All right, so I would...
And one other thing, Councilman, if I can, and there's nothing that prevents you from meeting with Comcast now. So you don't have to, you're not precluded from, we've gone through most of the process, but we can sit down and start having preliminary meetings with them whenever you think that's appropriate.
All right, so what I'd like to do as part of my council comments is to make a motion that myself, Councilman Kramer, and Councilman Vastanella serve on an ad hoc committee to work the details on this, since we are starting to run out of time. We haven't waited until the exact last moment, but given my review of the situation today, this became urgent. I placed a call to Lou. I talked to Bob, because when I saw that date, August 8th, is very close, and we haven't, and I talked about it the last council meeting. So I guess we're will we need to form an ad hoc committee? Do
Yeah, I think you probably need a...
All right. So then I make a motion to form an ad hoc committee of council to work with our township manager and our attorney for the cable franchise, and I make a motion that myself, Councilman Kramer, and Councilman Vasanella, as the representative of the cable committee, be on that committee.
Second.
Okay, and I'm inferring that the length of that committee will be till our final vote, or
Yeah.
negotiations are concluded?
Yes.
June 17th, 2032.
Okay.
Well, until the process is concluded, is
Yes.
the way that the mayor,
Yeah.
is that acceptable? Okay.
Okay, there was a motion and second for that
Or your
committee. Any
terms,
discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstain, carried. Thank you very much. Thank you, council persons, for serving on yet one more committee.
Yeah.
And I will just add that if needed, there's nothing that limits us from having an additional council meeting if we have to.
All right, continuing with my council comments. So, you know, obviously,
Why not?
the park and the speaker system came up again today. You know, this item was discussed at the last council meeting, and I think some folks may have had the wrong impression, because it was a council discussion item to kind of start the ball rolling. That discussion of the speakers and the specifications, so, was not the proposal. And if folks were given that impression, it was incorrect. This really just started the ball going. I think what we're going to see is that as Councilman Wright said, there's going to be folks going to East Brunswick. Then I expect that the land use committee is going to be getting together and working this in a subcommittee, and then bringing it to full council with either a recommendation from the land use, or they're going to say, hey, we couldn't really, as a subcommittee, come up with something in total agreement, and there was a difference of opinions to bring it to us. But the details and working through all the very fine comments and good points brought out by a public, that will be hashed through. So, as the mayor said and other members up here, this is not, something that's going to happen like in 2 weeks. This will still take some time. I would suspect that land use will have at least one meeting on it, if not two, to work through this. So this isn't going to, you're not going to find out when you're on vacation in August that this thing was decided and voted on. And then the other thing, as I said, the last one, it's solely just my opinion, and I'm basically going to say the same thing I did, is that, yes, we're working for balance, but as I said at the last meeting, I do not believe that this council will come up with a solution that will be 100% acceptable to the residents and 100% acceptable to the people who want speakers in the park. I just think that we're going to try balance, but balance does not mean, in my opinion, 100% of the people are going to be satisfied. I don't, no one up here is a god. I don't think we can, snap our fingers and make everybody happy. What I do believe you have is the commitment of this council to work to come up with the best workable solution that we can. And with that, someone who doesn't want any speakers is going to be unhappy, even if there are restrictions on the speakers. And then if there are restrictions on the speakers and what it can do or what it can't do, the time zone, there are going to be people unhappy about that because they want more from it. Or naturally, if there are no speakers, then obviously, some people are going to be happy and others are not. So that's pretty much all I have to say on that.
Okay, thank you. And I'll get to the park in just a moment also. There was, going back to the Memorial Day Parade, that went, obviously was said very well. Again, I also want to thank Bob LaCourte for the work he put in. This, our blood, sweat, and tears. And I just want to answer another point which was asked of me near the end of the parade. Our Memorial Day Parade is basically planned privately. It's kind of viewed as a town parade, but it's really private putting it together. Our 4th of July celebration is headed by someone who's not part of the council, Bill Grippo, used to be, and he does a great job of chairing it and putting all that together and raising the money to do that. And I was asked, well, things like 4th of July, Memorial Day, why is the town not part of these great events? We're just kind of subbing it out. And what I said was, and I just want to repeat it here because it could be on other people's minds. Through time, we, the Township Council, have allocated the land and the money for, obviously, the Veterans Memorial and certainly our municipal complex also. We do pay our police and public works on regular time, which takes them away from other duties to get all of these events ready. And we do make the decision to inconvenience some people for a day, whether it's the loud fireworks or closing off the roads to their homes, and the going through the permit process and all that discounted for everyone. And again, we're glad to be part of it, but I just don't want it to think that the council is out of the issue. We're certainly concerned and part of that. Okay, as far as the park goes, Middlebush Park, and I've said this forever, residents are always of highest priority. Pop Warner kids are part of my residents too. The people who live in the area are part of my residents. So I've got to take a look at this well. And unlike, I dare say, other towns who may just railroad this through, doing what they want, we've started it last time, glad to discuss it, and it will be an open process. As the Deputy Mayor said, everyone may not like the results one way or the other. I don't know if it's going to be one way or the other or a compromise. I suspect it may be some sort of compromise, but that's going to be how it'll come out. But certainly residents' input will be there. So this is how I view it personally. I think, what are my goals? When the land was first put for the park from a developer, the goal was to have a park for recreation. When we decided to spend money from our open space to build the park, the idea, this is for me, was why am I doing this? It's to provide recreation for the kids. And when the lights were there, it was to provide enhanced recreation. So I come to the same point in my mind. Do the speakers, are they going to make more kids play Pop Warner and soccer, which is good. It teaches them sportsmanship, it teaches them teamwork, it teaches them athletics and all that. And if my answer is no, it's just a nice enhancement, but it'll hurt other people, then it's going to lean me towards, okay, though I may like it and I may need it, though I may like it, I may not need it totally in the form that was offered. If I'm told, oh, gee, this is going to enhance us X, Y, and Z, then I'll take that into play a little bit. And frankly, I don't know, because I haven't looked at it that deeply. This idea of a sound system has come across us pretty well. I mean, pretty recently. I keep an open mind on these things. But I suspect where I would lean is a system where has been proposed, something maybe more high-tech, or so that people in the stadium may hear what's happening, or in the stands, and the sound won't go out. I'm not a scientist, so I don't know if that's possible. I hope that would be nice, everyone could keep happy, but I'm going to be open-minded on how all that could work. And again, it was said well also by a couple people here when you said, put yourself in my place. You're sitting in your backyard, a barbecue, a Father's Day or whatever is going on, and what is it you want people to see and hear? So that was actually a very good point for me personally. So again, you will be fully informed, and we appreciate you coming here and give us your opinion, so I appreciate that very much.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Councilman Wright.
If I could just say one thing.
Please.
Everyone keeps saying Pop Warner and soccer, and I think you go down a dead road when we all say that.
Okay.
Just as in the sidewalks, it's not a school issue, it's a public safety issue. So if you keep going down that road, not just you, us, if we keep going down that road, then I think we're going to come to a bad spot on that road okay? So it's not Pop Warner, it's not soccer,
What is it?
all right?
Okay.
Excuse me?
Okay, you have the floor. Just keep going, keep going.
It's
We're not gonna
everybody in
dialogue
town,
tonight.
Councilman Vastanella. It's not two organizations in this entire town. So I just want to say that. So nobody go down the little rabbit hole and want to do something different. I'm just saying, don't go down that road. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next, our township manager, Mr. Robert Vornlocker. Do you want to fill us in on anything?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I actually have several items that I just need to go over quickly. One, as council is all aware, I don't know if the public is aware, there was a major water main break on Franklin Boulevard on early Sunday morning. I was notified by our Public Works manager that the water utility was out with a 16-inch water main break on Franklin Boulevard near Highland Avenue. That water main break, it compromised the roadway for about 100 feet, 150 feet of Franklin Boulevard, which caused the road to be closed until about 6 o'clock tonight. It is, unfortunately, I have to tell you that it is item 19A, resolutions to be voted on separately tonight for an emergency appropriation to cover the contractor who had to come in and reconstruct the road there with a not to exceed of $75,000. If it had been repaired, I'll just let you know the dollars here. If it had been done on Sunday to reconstruct the road, because the water main was built, was fixed on Sunday. To reconstruct the road on Sunday would have been about $175,000. So I thought that our Public Works manager made a good decision in holding off until this morning to bring the contractor in. So that repair is made, and our water system did perform well in that our valves worked and we were able to isolate this break and only one customer was affected, even though this was a major line being a 16-inch water main. So that's the Franklin Boulevard topic. The canal bridge near the Meadows Van Wickle house. I know that's been a topic of council several times. That canal bridge is in place and in use. It was done last week, so all of you who wanted it, it's back. It was washed out during Hurricane Irene, and the state has replaced it, and I was given a call by Patricia Calliser, the park superintendent, last week, and she told me it's back in action. So, Irene, that was Irene, not Sandy. Clean Communities Grant, the mayor mentioned the Clean Communities Grant. It's also on your consent agenda, 18R, $108,389 was what the township received this year. As I spoke last meeting, I've instructed the Public Works manager and the director of Public Works to utilize more funds. The cleaning, roadside cleanups have increased. They're being done every weekend, and we're going to utilize those funds to do something that hasn't been done, unfortunately, in several years, and that's really clean up our township roads. So I mentioned to the public too, if you see things alongside the road, please let us know. You can contact my office or the Public Works Department so that we can get those crews out there. And this grant funds overtime for extra Public Works employees along with community service to go out and clean up our roads, which I think is very much necessary. And just as, not that I want to talk about Middlebush Park per se, but the deputy mayor mentioned land use and the discussion of the sound system at land use. I just would also like to mention that it was a lengthy discussion last Tuesday at the Open Space Advisory Committee. Obviously, the Open Space Advisory Committee makes recommendations to council on how open space funds are utilized, and they also were given every assurance, because they have their own concerns about this expenditure, and they were given my assurance that no decisions had been made by council and no decisions would be made by council until they heard what the recommendations of that committee were, as well as the land use committee. And that's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. great on the cleaning of the town more and more. Okay, so now we go to council discussion, and from here we're going to go on with our regular business. You can certainly stay, but just so you know. And that's 12A, request to serve alcohol at an event at the Van Loo House, one of the Meadows houses. So, Ms. McCarthy, if you can give us an overview, then our Deputy Mayor Brian Regan will tell us about that.
Okay, yes, we got an application in that requests permission to serve alcohol at the Van Loo House for a 50th birthday party. We have an ordinance in the code book that prohibits alcohol unless waived by council by resolution. So this is, go ahead. Yeah.
So, Mayor?
I'm going to go first.
Go ahead, Deputy Mayor. I'm sorry, I didn't see your hand.
Brian Regan, and then we'll come over here.
So, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So, as the mayor indicated, this item obviously came up during the agenda meeting that we had when reviewing this. So, right now, the only way to move forward on this is that we have to offer an exception, as our township clerk just said, through a resolution to allow that. Initially, my first question was about liability associated with the alcohol. Mr. Vornlacher has spoken to our attorney, Lou, and that the town is not held liable in that situation. It's the guests, the people who...
Our ordinance requires them to have an insurance policy, naming us as an insured.
So we can move forward. Do we actually put a resolution on for tonight, or we
There's a draft one that's attached to the agenda. We can always add it to the consent if it's...
So we can tonight, I think, what is plausible to do tonight is to allow that exception via resolution to have it added to the agenda. But then what I've asked our township manager to do is to work with our attorney to review the current resolution to see what options we have, such to ensure, again, the liability issue. But if we went down this path at our historical homes where we were offering it, then, do we associate some sort of fee associated with that, that if somebody wants to serve alcohol, that, that's an additional fee because of, whatever the processing associated with that and whatever permits are needed. So they have taken that item, or Mr. Vornlacher has taken that item, whether he has informed Mr. Renaud yet.
No, I had this.
No, Mr. Renaud and I have had a conversation, actually two, and the issue here is, and I won't speak for Mr. Renaud, but it is within rights of council for them to either enact an ordinance or amend a current ordinance that would allow for a fee for that type of permit.
So if possible, maybe when a draft is put together, that can come to through financial oversight, and then we take a look and then bring it to council, just on the initial thought.
Okay.
Can I ask just one question about this? The applicant's name is an agency? I'm not sure I quite understand that. It's not Mr. Smith's birthday party. What is that?
I don't have it in front of me, Anne Marie.
It says T.E. Fueller Agency, and that's what the resolutions say.
I'm guessing that it's someone from the agency whose birthday, there's a contact person, Nancy, who is requesting permission for this birthday party.
So, and the only reason I want to know is that I need to know in terms of the form of insurance, is this going to be, we're going to get a
certificate of insurance like we do where they name us as an additional insured.
Yeah, I just don't, it's unusual. I don't know what.
See, this is the uniqueness, and it's actually, and not to correct everyone, it's actually the Van Wickle House, not the Van Loo House, and not that should matter. It's also under the control of the Meadows Foundation. We are not the entity that is renting out this house. The Meadows Foundation is. All we are doing right now is, because of the township ordinance prohibiting alcohol on our public properties, there's this provision in that ordinance that allows council to waive it, and so I don't have a lot of the specifics as far as the group is concerned.
I understand that, but if for instance, this is a catering business, we would not be we can't grant them the permission because it's, what they say in the certification is that this is a private party. Alcoholic beverages will be served to guests served without charge to my guests. The answer is that if this is an agency who's running a party and they're getting paid to run the party.
I don't believe it is, and I can certainly, we can clarify that. I think this is more like, I own an insurance agency and I'm having a party for my employees.
That's fine.
And I believe that that's the case here.
That's fine. Okay, thank you.
Okay, Councilman Vasanella, and Councilman Todd.
Yes, and just what our attorney just mentioned, whether it applies here or not, looking a little more broadly at this, if there is whether we amend the ordinance or not, if a situation comes forward where there's alcohol to be served, would it be legal or would it be advisable to permit, say there's somebody having 50th anniversary or wedding, and it's where the people putting the event, the private individual is allowed to bring and give the alcohol, serve the alcohol, but there's a separate caterer that's paid to bring the food. I don't know if this applies here, but since this has happened, this could very likely happen in the future. Are you allowed to you would give the permit to the individual? But if the catering company is technically actually serving it, you're saying it should be the individual because they're not charging it.
It should be the individual so that we know that it's something that's completely separate.
Then that language be clarified, I'm sure, as things progress to make the applicants, make it as easy as possible. But just in general, and I don't mind if it goes to financial oversight, I would think it'd be more of a public safety or land use issue, but whatever, I'm not trying to drag it through 20 committees. My point is, if the township can protect the town, if the council can protect the town from liability, and there is enough safety mechanisms put in place for the general safety of the guests and neighbors, I think we should be very open and even lenient in allowing these entities, historical homes, et cetera. We have open space. Someday we may have an amphitheater where you have a concert. With the proper safeguards, I believe we should look very broadly and progressively at allowing alcohol within reason at events. And I would just personally, and you're going to bring back in committees and recommendations, I would think, especially Mr. Vornlocker with his background in public safety, I think it could be at the discretion of the manager, or if there's a situation where there was a question. In other words, I don't think council, with the right safeguards, need to have to approve these or discuss them every time. I think we should move in that direction personally. I know there's a lot of details the lawyer and the committees will bring back, but I'm glad that this came up, and I'd like to see it move as fast as possible. And if the liability and safety issue is okay, I would love to grant them permission here for this one on the resolution. That's what for tonight's agenda. That's what I have to say about it. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay. Councilman Prasad, and then I'll go to Councilman Chase and Councilwoman Sherman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The residents of Franklin really have invested a lot in these historic properties. They've also invested in the senior center, and our ordinance that forbids the use of alcohol actually limits us from giving it to our local residents for things like a dance recital, where they spend just as much as they would on a wedding. And if we had invest something in videotaping equipment or something like that, which is what the North Brunswick High School has done, and they take in tens of thousands of dollars for one night. And we're losing all that, and our residents are going to those places, and they have come to me asking for such and it wasn't even necessarily alcohol, but we are losing money because of our own assets not being utilized. And we have them, but we deny them to our residents. Now we need to look at it and see what we can do to make this happen.
I think that's what I suggested.
Yeah, and so I'm saying that it's not just the the Van Wickle house.
Yeah, no,
but all broader.
Yes.
And if you're trying to figure out that what are we going to do with these historic properties, they're an ideal venue for people to have. And if we can add, enough capacity there, this would set them apart and have the residents be able to book these places and have some place unique and different, like many townships have. And this would allow us to generate a lot of revenue for the town and actually lower the tax base. So I'm saying we've been losing out, and this has been a pet peeve of mine, that we can't even rent out our own senior center, which is a huge hall. And we could be doing that more aggressively, and our seniors don't use it at night. So it's something that we can use on weekends and evenings and get greater use of it for all the township residents, and not just the seniors in weekday mornings.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
I'm gonna first go to our manager, Mr.
I just want to clear up maybe some misperceptions here. All right, so number one, since the senior center was built, this form and this waiver of this ordinance has been in place. Anyone who made that application to have alcohol, be it at the senior center or any of our other facilities, had the right to do that. It is not done very often, I grant you, but it has been done in the past. And this is not something new. All right, we've had this ordinance on the books that prohibits alcohol on our properties, and the waiver of that ordinance provision has been in place since this ordinance was passed in the 1990s. This is not new. So that's number one. Number two, the facility that is now renting this out for this party, just like the other historic facilities, are under the control of the Meadows Foundation, not the township. The idea behind enacting an ordinance that would make it easier is, I think, what the deputy mayor's goal was here. Not that it wasn't, you weren't able to do it in the past. This would facilitate it in an easier manner. So I think that's what the discussion is here. But I can be corrected by the township attorney if he so feels the need to correct me, but I believe that it is a state law that prohibits alcohol in public schools in this state. And so I'm not quite sure how North Brunswick is holding events in their high school with alcohol, because it is a violation of state law.
No, there's no alcohol.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just want to be clear about that, too. So certainly I will work with Mr. Raynone in drafting an ordinance that facilitates this in an easier manner than it is now. But, this is only the second time in recent history that someone has actually made an application to have alcohol in one of our buildings. The previous one was a wedding at the Hageman Barn about 2 years ago. And this council, all 9 are still the same here. This council did the same thing then that they're being asked to do now, which is waive the provisions of the alcohol ordinance and allow the event to take place, which is what happened at the Hageman Barn. So I just want to clear up some of those issues.
No, I thank the manager for that, but at the same time, we should be looking at, I get restaurant owners who are doing catering for weddings, and they're telling me there is no large facility that they can get. And they would like to get this kind of facility. There is a demand for it. And then I have parents whose kids are going in for a dance recital and are looking for a place. And these are Franklin High School graduates or students who are going to North Brunswick instead of here. And I've had to go and attend those events in North Brunswick. And I'm saying to myself, why wasn't this here? And this high school, of course, turned it down. But I thought that maybe our senior center could have done it without the alcohol. But, they did approach and they were told no. So we've got to make sure we are more accommodating of our own residents and not sending business away to other towns. That's what I would like to see happen. Thank you.
Councilman Chase and then Councilwoman Sherman.
Yeah, I think we really have two questions here. One is what Councilman Prasad raises about facilities for substantial events such as dance recitals, and I've been to one of those. Actually, it was in New Brunswick High School auditorium, and I think the problem may be that they often draw more people than our senior center could hold. But, and maybe our school system is turning these down, but that's not something that we, the council, have power over. The other is the question of alcohol at township-owned facilities such as the Van Wickle House. And yeah, I remember at the time of the wedding at the Hageman House, or shortly thereafter, there was somewhat of a move within the Meadows Foundation to really build that up as a center for such events. And there was some feeling, I believe, among the council that they shouldn't be competing with
Yes, that's what it was.
facilities in the township that do catered affairs, such as the Palace and the Imperia, because if you're, obviously, if you're not paying taxes on the building, you're in a better position to compete. I don't know that the Meadows ever thought about it that way, but I don't think it was a majority opinion within the Meadows, so that topic sort of went away. But I think we want to look at this as some occasional events at facilities that are nice to have this at, such as the Van Wickle House or the Hageman House, but not to be getting into competition with regular catered affair venues.
Okay.
I would just like to confirm, because that was my note and that was my recollection. I was working very closely with the Meadows at that time in an effort to try to help them to work through this, because I knew people who would have loved to have rented the Van Wickle House or any of the homes for an affair. And we basically decided we didn't want to go in competition with our businesses in town. That was really what we did. And then I think and maybe Mr. Ranone can refresh my memory, the state owns some of these properties, not us. The ones that were on that property where they were going to put a reservoir.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the state has a different take on this than we did.
No, we actually went through the exercise of getting all of the leases.
Yes,
and
I
looking at
remember
all
that.
of them and determined that we actually could do this.
Okay.
I mean, there were a lot of, at the Hageman property, we had a pretty big meeting about, the Meadows' desires to build that into essentially a catering hall, and we had the building department and everybody here telling them how it is they could not do that without spending.
Yeah, parking was their
literally
big issue there.
millions of dollars, and
Yeah.
then it got to the issue of, and why are we building a catering facility when we have facilities like that in town?
Right. But, there still is a market for something like this, that it may not be something that would affect the Imperia, but that was our decision, and it discouraged the Meadows from looking for that kind of business. So if we've changed our minds, I'm sure they'll be happy to hear that.
Okay, Councilman.
So, Mr. Mayor,
Kramer and then Councilman. Okay, go, Deputy Mayor Regan. Then.
No, I was just going to talk about I think we actually still have to have, relative to this particular item, forgetting all the other stuff, we have to, I think, to get a motion to allow the exception for tonight, unless there's other discussion about this particular request.
Well, I'll go to Councilman Kramer to speak on this yet.
Yeah, I mean, that's fine about this tonight, but to me, this, not mine.
Oh, no? Oh.
No, it was mine. It's dead.
You killed it.
I killed it. To me, this is an issue, a bit of an issue of liability. With a bar, they've got their license at stake, and so they have something to lose if somebody, if someone comes to ill over this. I think it would be very hard for the attorney to draft something that really has us absolutely not liable. If someone's sued, they can sue us, and that's going to cost us. I'm not saying no on that, but I think that is my major concern about this. I have no problem with it on an ad hoc basis, but I would have to think deeply about us doing it on a regular basis, simply from the liability point of view. So I have no problem with the way it is now, but I do like the idea of income that Mr. Prasad is giving. So, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Deputy Mayor Regan and then to Councilman Prasad.
No, mine is still the same. I just want to move on this particular item. So if there's more discussion about the global, can we just move on this particular exception?
Okay, and we'll get to that, Deputy Mayor, but what I wanted to say was, I have rented banquet halls locally, and I have catered liquor there. The Ukrainian Center being one where my son's wedding was held. And I brought in the liquor. That's the cheaper way to go than pay by the drink. And of course, this is an option people should have, is to rent a place and be able to bring their own liquor and do it cheaper that way than the other. And there is host liquor liability, and I bought a policy locally, and it was not even $100, but it was worth it. But if we put that in our ordinance, that is what's required, then you've covered yourself, and if you want, you can be named as a, co-beneficiary of coverage, and you're covered. But that is something we can work out, but we're losing out on a lot of money and keeping money local, money from going outside of town. And not everybody ends up at the Palace or even at the Ukrainian Center, which are the two large halls that are there. So let's see what we can do to try and accommodate some of our residents and their pocketbooks. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Deputy Mayor Regan, you want to?
Yeah, so, so I guess what we have to do is, we need a motion to add the draft resolution to the formal resolution list, I guess, as...
You want to put on 19?
So moved.
A second 19 vote on separately or part of the consent?
I just do it as part of consent,
Make it
unless somebody needs further discussion.
18D?
So I would make it as part of 8.
So is that your motion, or
Yes,
you
my
want me to?
motion is to add the draft resolution with the particulars specific to the application to the consent agenda resolutions as 18T, as in Tom. Need a second?
Second it.
Okay, any discussion on that?
Where is this draft?
Nope.
Okay, would you? Okay.
The attorneys.
And,
Okay.
Okay, any other discussion on it? So this is in discussion for the motions to put on the agenda. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion is carried. So we will, that'll be now 18T on the agenda, thank you. Okay, so next we have CDBG, Community Development Block Grant, DR Resiliency Funding. Councilman Chase.
Well, I think we all got an email from the clerk, and the item is there on your iPad. I tried to, it was really just a letter from the League of Municipalities, and I thought asking us to support them and write a letter to the Secretary of HUD that no Sandy CDBG money be reallocated to other areas other than those affected by Sandy. Now, I tried this afternoon to access the actual letter on their website, and I could not get it. And they had a reply form for if you had a problem getting to something that was supposedly on their website, and that didn't work either. And then I tried to send them an email, and that didn't work either. So I think they have some website problems. But assuming that our clerk can get the actual letter, presumably we could just send the same letter, more or less the same letter, to the Secretary of HUD. It just seemed to me like one of these requests that would be worth our supporting. I don't think we're getting any Sandy money, but certainly the towns in the state that need it really need it.
Okay, so is that a request so that we see it next meeting and vote on that? Okay.
Okay,
Right,
I
good.
guess it's not that much of a hurry, but
Okay.
yeah.
When we can. Okay, thank you for bringing that to our attention. Okay, so now we come to item 12C. This has been added since the original agenda. Change June 5th, 2014 council meeting, which was changed from, I think it was the 10th, to June 12th, 2014. Ms.
You going to tell us
Mr.
why we need
Vornlacher?
to make that change?
Yes, I would like to tell you why we need to make that change. On tonight's agenda is a $2.5 million bond ordinance to pave streets. If you introduce that bond ordinance tonight, you must wait 2 weeks to then adopt that ordinance. Because you've moved that meeting up to the 5th, we don't meet the time frame, which means the second meeting for adoption of that ordinance will not be until the end of June. And then we have to wait 20 days, so you won't be able to start really paving anything until August. We have 5 sections of paving that's planned for this summer, and including the JFK section that someone mentioned earlier about the grant that was received, Canal Road, the McAfee Road area, which has to be done before September because it has to be done before schools start, and then the Memorial Drive and Smithwald areas in the second ward. So what winds up happening because of that date being moved up is instead of being able to start in the beginning of July, which is what we would prefer to do, we're going to lose a whole month because of the timing for the adoption of the ordinance and then the 20-day waiting period after adoption. So that's why it's being recommended that we move this meeting back to the 12th, which was where it was at one point. It's bounced around a little bit. It was originally scheduled for the 10th, but most of council had a conflict on the 10th, if not all of you. And so it was moved to the 12th, and then it was moved to the 5th to accommodate the cable television hearing, which then has been moved to the 24th because the Comcast was not available. So I realize this is kind of bounced around, but at this point, given the fact that we're introducing that ordinance tonight, I think that it's important that we get started as soon as possible on the overlay project. So that's what it's all about.
Your Honor, I move that we move the June 5th council meeting to June 12th.
Second.
Can you find out whether the Comcast guy would be available on the 12th?
24th.
No, I can't
Well-
undo the public notice. I don't have the time anymore.
There's not enough time. But the public notice has to be, I believe, 30 days prior to the meeting, so the public hearing.
Think
So
so.
we've already,
Yeah.
we're already past that.
And that's it.
So can
Is
we
there-
do an all in favor? Can we do that now?
Well, I just want to.
Hold on.
Is there anyone who can't make that? Or do
The
we-
12th?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can make the 12th. I can make the 5th.
Okay. The foreshadow 12th could be an issue
It's a Thursday, right?
for me, just because we kind of schedule things out, but I'll see what I can do, and if I'm not, I guess we'll carry on if that's what works for everybody. Okay. Any discussion on this? Okay. Do
we have to do a roll call?
Okay. Okay, we'll do a roll call. Ms. McCarthy, please poll the council on moving the council meeting from the 5th of June to the 12th.
Councilman Chase?
Yes.
Councilwoman Francois?
I was just looking at the day of the week. Yes.
Thursday.
Councilman Kramer?
Yes.
Mayor Levine?
Yes.
Councilman Prasad?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Regan?
Yes.
Councilwoman Sherman?
Yes.
Councilman Vasanella?
Yes.
Okay, motion is carried. We now go to 13, which is approval of minutes. The following 2014 minutes are submitted to the Township Council for approval. It's the Township Council work session regular meeting of April 22nd, 2014. The Township Council executive session of April 22nd, 2014. The Township Council work session regular meeting of May 13th, 2014. The Township Council executive session of May 13th, 2014. Those work session and regular meetings are the ones, of course, that started at 7 o'clock p.m. Is there a motion for the aforementioned minutes?
So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Ms. McCarthy, please poll the council on approval of the minutes.
Councilman Chase?
Yes.
Councilwoman Francois?
Yes.
Councilman Kramer?
Yes.
Mayor Levine?
Yes.
Councilman Prasad?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Regan? Councilwoman Sherman?
I will have to abstain from the May 13th regular session and executive session. I was on vacation, but yes to the rest.
Councilman Vasanella?
Yes.
Okay. Motion is carried. Pardon me. Okay, so next we have approval of the warrants. The warrants are the bills that we pay. Warrants in the amount of $2,228,062.58 on May 27th, 2014 are presented to the Township Council for payment. Is there a motion that the warrants be paid as read?
So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Madam Clerk, please poll the council on payment of the warrants.
Councilman Chase?
Yes.
Councilwoman Francois?
Yes.
Councilman Kramer?
Yes.
Mayor Levine?
Yes.
Councilman Prasad?
Yes.
Councilwoman Sherman?
Yes.
Councilman Vasanella?
Yes.
Okay. Motion is carried. Next, we have a second reading of an ordinance. Usually, ordinances are voted on twice. The first time, they're voted on, and then usually the next meeting, they're voted on a second time. If they pass that second time, they go into law. And usually at that second meeting, it is open for public hearing on that particular ordinance. On this one second reading we actually held the public hearing already on February 11th, 2014, so we don't have to do that again at this time. So this is 15A on the agenda, ordinance number 4050-14, an ordinance authorizing the Township of Franklin to mend a conservation easement it has in real property known as 9 Matawang Drive, and identified on the Township's tax map as Block 37.03, and authorizing the acceptance of an amended conservation easement over the same property. If you'll remember, this is a small triangle at the end of a person's driveway on Matawang Drive. This was tabled because we were told we may have not needed to have this ordinance, but it turns out that we do. I think originally that was, yes, back in January, February area. So it was introduced, we had a public hearing, but not a second vote, so that's what we're doing now. The Township Attorney has approved the affidavit of publication. The public hearing is in order. Is there a motion for final passage of the ordinance and publication in accordance with law?
So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Ms. McCarthy, please poll the
15A.
council on Item 15A, ordinance 4050-14, please.
Councilman Chase.
Yes.
Councilwoman Francois.
Yes.
Councilman Kramer.
Yes.
Mayor Levine.
Yes.
Councilman Prasad.
Yes.
Councilwoman Sherman.
Yes.
Councilman Vasanella.
Yes.
Okay, motion is carried. So this is where we would be, public hearing and adoption of ordinances on second reading, second readings for which there is a public hearing. We do not have any. Next, we have ordinances on introduction and first reading, of which we have 4 today. The first is 17A, ordinance 4061-14, ordinance to amend the code of the Township of Franklin, County of Somerset, State of New Jersey. More particularly, Chapter 260, Parks and Recreation, Section 260-11, Exclusive Use Permit for Park Facilities, and Section 260-14, Exemptions. This is establishing fees for turf fields, lighted field waivers, et cetera. It's for the entire town, but it's really mostly centered on Middlebush Park. So the foregoing ordinance is presented to the Township Council for adoption on first reading, posting, publication in accordance with law, and public hearing and final adoption on Tuesday, June 24th, 2014, at 7 o'clock p.m. here at the Municipal Complex.
Mayor, you need to change the 24th to the 12th.
Oh, okay, thank you very much. Okay, so instead, all 4 are going to be on the 12th, right? Thank you very much. So the change was just that the public hearing and final adoption will be on Thursday,
The 12th.
June 12th, 2014, at 7 o'clock p.m. here at the Municipal Complex. Thank you. Is there a motion to introduce?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Ms. McCarthy, please pull the council on item 17A, ordinance 4061-14, please.
Councilman Chase.
Yes.
Councilwoman Francois.
Yes.
Councilman Kramer.
Yeah.
Mayor Levine.
Yes.
Councilman Prasad.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Regan.
Yes.
Councilwoman Sherman.
Yes.
Councilman Vasanella.
Yes.
Okay, motion is carried. Next, we have item 17B, ordinance 4062-14, bond ordinance providing for 2014 road resurfacing program in and by the Township of Franklin in the County of Somerset, State of New Jersey, known as the Township, appropriating $2,500,000, therefore, and authorizing the issuance of $2,375,000 bonds or notes of the Township to finance part of the cost thereof. This stems from our budget, where $2.5 million is being appropriated for paving of roads. The foregoing ordinance is presented to the Township Council for adoption on first reading, posting, publication in accordance with law, and public hearing, and final adoption on Thursday, January 12th, 2014, at 7 o'clock p.m. at the Municipal Complex.
June 12th.
I'm sorry, what did I say?
January.
I'm sorry, thank you for that. Try again. Thursday, June 12th, 2014, 7 o'clock p.m. at the Municipal Complex. Thanks. Madam, I'm sorry, is there a motion to introduce?
So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Ms. McCarthy, please poll the council on item 17B, ordinance 4062-14, please.
Councilman Chase.
Yes.
Councilwoman Francois.
Yes.
Councilman Kramer.
Yes.
Mayor Levine.
Yes.
Councilman Prasad.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Regan.
Yes.
Councilwoman Sherman.
Yes.
Councilman Vasanella.
Yes.
Okay, motion is carried. Next, we have item 17B, bond ordinance providing for various capital improvements by and in and by the Township of Franklin in the County of Somerset, State of New Jersey, known as the Township, appropriating $581,000 therefore, and authorizing the issuance of $551,950 bonds or notes of the Township to finance part of the cost thereof. Again, this stems from our budget, which was adopted. It's most of the other items, except for road improvements, road paving, that were in the budget. The foregoing ordinance is presented to the Township Council for adoption on first reading, posting, publication in accordance with law, and public hearing, and final adoption on Thursday, June 12th, 2014, at 7 o'clock p.m. at the Municipal Complex. Is there a motion to introduce?
So moved.
Second.
Madam Clerk, please poll the council on item 17C, ordinance 4063-14, please.
Councilman Chase.
Yes.
Councilwoman Francois.
Yes.
Councilman Kramer.
Yes.
Mayor Levine.
Yes.
Councilman Prasad.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Regan.
Yes.
Councilwoman Sherman.
Yes.
Councilman Vasanella.
Yes.
Okay, motion is carried. Next, we have the fourth and final of our more ordinance introductions for the evening. Thanks. This is, someday I'll get the hang of this job. Okay. It's item 17D, ordinance 4064-14. Bond ordinance providing for various capital acquisitions and improvements for the water utility of the Township of Franklin in the County of Somerset, State of New Jersey, known as the Township, appropriating $4,105,000 therefore, and authorizing the issuance of $4,105,000 bonds and notes of the water utility of the Township of Franklin to finance the part of the cost thereof. Okay, this is providing for improvements of the water utility and being paid out of the water utility. The foregoing ordinance is presented to the Township Council for adoption on first reading, posting, publication in accordance with law, and public hearing, and final adoption on Thursday, June 12th, 2014, at 7 o'clock p.m. here at the Municipal Complex. Is there a motion to introduce?
So moved. Seconded.
Okay. Moved and seconded. Ms. McCarthy, please poll the council on item 17D, ordinance 4064-14, please.
Councilman Chase.
Yes.
Councilwoman Francois.
Yes.
Councilman Kramer.
Yes.
Mayor Levine.
Yes.
Councilman Prasad.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Regan.
Yes.
Councilwoman Sherman.
Yes.
Councilman Vasanella.
Yes.
Okay, motion is carried. Now we come to item 18, which is our consent agenda. It was A through S. It is now A through T. We added an item earlier this meeting. Consent agenda is items of a basically routine nature upon which the council can vote in one motion. It is any council person's prerogative to pull something off for a separate vote or have a discussion on any or all of the items. So we have the consent agenda, items 18A through 18T. These are listed on the consent agenda portion of this meeting. They're presented to the Township Council for adoption. Is there a motion for the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Okay, any discussion? Ms. McCarthy, please poll the council on the consent agenda items 18A through 18T, please.
Councilman Chase.
Yes.
Councilwoman Francois.
Yes.
Councilman Kramer.
Yes.
Mayor Levine.
Yes.
Councilman Prasad.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Regan.
Yes.
Councilwoman Sherman.
Yes.
Councilman Vasanella.
Yes.
Okay, motion is carried. We have one item on item 19, resolutions voted on separately. This was added since the since our original agenda. This 19A on the agenda, resolution 14-273, award emergency contract pavement work in connection with the Franklin Boulevard Highland Avenue water main break, PaveRight Inc., amount not to exceed $75,000. This is what was mentioned earlier, water main break, emergency funds to fix that. So this is a resolution is presented to the Township Council for adoption. It's an add-on. Is there a motion for this resolution?
So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Ms. McCarthy, please poll the council on item 19A, resolution 14-273, please.
Councilman Chase.
I just wanted to ask, does the fact that Franklin Boulevard is a county road play any role in this, or is it's our water main, we pay?
It's our water main and we pay. And for what it's worth, and just to show you that people actually do watch us live, while I was sitting here, I got a message from our Public Works manager that the base course of the road passed the inspection, so it won't be $75,000, so that's a good news. I won't say that it won't be 50, but it won't be 75. But it is our responsibility to repair the road whenever our water main causes the issue.
We would be paying for it through the water department.
It'll be paid through the water utility, yes.
So it's not directly from the tax?
It is through the water utility, not through our regular budget. That's correct.
Okay, we're going to go to our vote in a second, Councilman.
I have a question, though, Mayor.
I'm deviating, but go ahead.
Okay.
We're clear on it.
You're very familiar with that. I just wanted to know, because it is being done through water, I understand why, but there, let's just say, are some road issues near Highland Avenue, near Franklin Boulevard. I know we're talking about paving part of it in a year or two. My question, my point is, can we work together, whether it's our public work guys go out and help them, or however you work things out internally, that they can kind of do whatever patching and
It's
temporary?
done, Councilman. The repairs are made. Everything was completed today at about 6 o'clock. It's
so
finished.
if there was anything
And this
that-
emergency
okay.
appropriation was specifically
Okay.
to repair the road as it related to the damage
So
done by the
then,
broken water main.
separate from the vote, if there's any pothole issues, they'll deal with that separate.
Pothole issues are pothole issues that we
So
deal
we'll
with
deal
all
with,
over
okay,
town.
I thought they were going to do it.
No,
say
no, the
combine
work is
efforts.
done.
Okay, you clarified it, thank you, go ahead, Mayor, I'm
Okay, thank
ready
you
to
for
put
the
a vote.
clarification. Ms. McCarthy, you want to take it from
Yes.
the top?
Councilman
Way ahead of
Chase.
you.
Councilwoman Francois.
Yes.
Councilman Kramer. Mayor Levine.
Yes.
Councilman Prasad.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Regan.
Yes.
Councilwoman Sherman.
Yes.
Councilman Vasanel.
Yes,
Okay, motion is carried. Next, we come to item 20, old business. A, our 2014 boards and commissions, any vacancies? Are there nominations for any vacancies? If not, at this point, we would have an executive session where we meet in private. We do not have any executive session for the evening, which leads us to item number 22, adjournment. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? But the ayes have it. We are adjourned. Thank you.